It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, showtime, everybody. What's happening? The Geno Jones Show. It's election night, so election day is here. It's not over yet. Voting is still going on all across America. So I come to you live Monday through Friday. Normal start dates and start times 6:30. It was the best of the Geno Jones Show yesterday. My radio station had a big event. I was one of the MCs. So shout out to all those here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro that came out to, we called it a Southern Soul Night, dressed in all white to honor Frankie Beverly at the Coastal Carolina Fair. But today is election day, you all. Yes, it's a choice, America. What are you choosing? Freedom or oppression? I've been saying that, and so special election night coverage, and to kick it off, wasting no time, because she's a busy woman, and she's got everything, live shots with the networks, and probably a big celebration party with her sorors and the whole 9 yards. Everybody wants their time, along the fact she is soon to be Dr. Keila Carson. So yeah, she's studying for this PhD deal. So we appreciate she has given us some of her time. But it's going to be a big night tonight. Our legal expert, also political consultant, Sean Mitchell. He's got a special guest that's supposed to come on, who's down in Georgia. Sean is, of course, in Chicago. A brother named Cal Burlock. He is the CEO of a company called Driven Systems. He is really well connected politically, so you can find out more about him. I'll let him tell his story, and we hope to hear. We have somebody in Houston. As a matter of fact, a friend of the show, author. You've seen her on, Trinace. We call her Tracy. Trinace Carter down in Houston. Want to find out what's going on with Brother Colin Allred. But first, Keila Carson is here, my regular #1 co-host on our Friday shows, our weekend review show, and I try to get it. Look, as soon as she really knows it, so it ain't like it's gonna be no secret. But I was gonna say when she don't know, but she really does know. Trust me. When the budget increases for the show. So she's the first one. As a matter of fact, her contract is already written. I just got to make sure we got the income to cover the contract. Her loot, she already goes. She'll be the first one to get her loot. Ladies and gentlemen, Keila Carson, and then who's joining us live from suburban Chicago. So I got all the intelligent brothers and sisters. So I might be the dumbest one on the show. So we got Miss soon to be PhD. We have, and both of them are professors. Keila teaches at what college again, Key?
So I teach at Oakland Community College, also Lawrence Tech, and Rochester University.
And of course, and Sean Mitchell teaches at Chicago State University. So he's about to jump on in a little bit. As a matter of fact, I just opened his. He just joined in live via Zoom, so you'll see him pop on the screen. All right, Key, so let's start it off, because I know I'm on the clock with you. So you were there, and I guess it's a debate between Michigan and Pennsylvania, this blue wall in terms of protecting democracy from autocracy or dictatorship. There's a lot of energy going on. Kamala Harris, Vice President. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start this right now. President-elect, I'm already speaking it into existence. Name it and claim it. That's right. Name it and claim it. Speak it into existence. Madam President-elect Kamala Harris has been there. Michelle Obama was killing it. So, Keila, what is the latest there on the... And, I need to point this out, because if nothing else, I want you to talk about this, because a lot of people have been talking about it. Keila lives in one of the most important counties. Her county is going to be the tell on who's going to win this election.
As of 2016, when that race took place, and you know who, whatever, Macomb County, Michigan became one of the places in America that anybody who's looking to be elected president now has to pay attention to. And the reason why is because historically, Macomb County, where I live, has voted Democratic. Now, Michigan state itself is a swing state, but this county typically would vote Democrat. However, in 2016, Mr. Thing flipped it and it became Republican, and it has been that way ever since. So, right now, cameras and news trucks and you name it are hitched in our county, especially the city of Warren. Um, to give you some context, Warren is where a lot of our plants are. And we have plants all over the place, but Warren is like this concentrated area where you'll see the General Motors plants, and then you move a little further, Sterling Heights, you get Chrysler, and all that. So, just to tell you how important it was, I mean, last week when we talked, I told you that Vice President elect, as we're claiming it, Harris was right down the street from the college that I teach at. Donald Trump was here earlier this week at the college that I attended, and my daughter attends right now to this day. So this area is popping, okay? And so far, I want to tell you about the city of Detroit, Geno, because you and I have limited time, and then I want to say hi to Professor Mitchell.
And
But
say hi to your mother, because she's like, my girl Keela,
hey,
I'm proud of
Mom.
you. She just typed it in the
So,
chat room.
so in the city of Detroit, the city of Detroit specifically is on track right now to beat the number of people who showed up at the polls in the 2020 general election.
Wow.
So, I mean, yes. And that was at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Damn.
So that was before people got off of work. Now, James White, the Detroit chief of police, has set up the Huntington place, which is where the voting tabulation will take place in the city. It's a whole new ball game. They've got officers out there. Bulletproof glass was installed all over the building.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, just like in Philly, the DA that said.
Yeah, I shout out to. We got to get his name. I know Sean was on, but shout out to whoever that brother is.
Was it Larry? What is his? I forget the last name, but the DA in Philly.
He said to all you militias, you can F
Yeah.
around and find out if you want to.
Yes, you can.
And
So-
you can imagine what the F stands for.
Exactly.
Right.
So
It rhymes
Detroit.
with duck.
So Detroit Police Chief James White is basically on that vibe today. Don't come down here with stuff. We got officers. We've got security. They installed cameras, surveillance cameras.
Oh, they not playing.
So it's tight. And like I said, at 3 o'clock, we only needed 50,000 more votes to beat out the number of turnout from 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
huge. Because Wayne County, you can explain to everybody, but Wayne County is the largest
yes.
in terms of population.
Yeah.
There's no county in Michigan that has more people than Wayne County, because Detroit
Right.
is the largest city.
Right. And in Wayne County includes our what we call Metro Detroit area. So does parts of Macomb, but Oakland County is and Wayne County. I mean, that's just those three counties, by the way, make up Metro Detroit. They are huge.
As a matter of
Do you
fact,
get what
Keith,
I'm saying?
let me ask you something just real quick, because I remember right before I came on, I just want you to confirm this number, because I was like, really, that much? I think I heard one of the guys, Mr. Khaki Pants on MSNBC, Steve Kornacki, say that is Wayne County, like, is 40% of the population in Wayne County in that area? of the whole state of Michigan?
Uh, yeah,
Wow.
and when you add in Macomb and Oakland County, because Oakland goes Democrat, Wayne goes Democrat, and of recent years, my cuckoo county, Macomb, has gone the other way. But yeah, I mean, it is that's what I was trying to tell you, how hugely populated Wayne County is. And then when you add in Macomb and um this other
What, Oakland
place,
County?
Oakland, it
And
is
there's one
massive.
more key. There's two more, but well, actually, let me say this. There's two more. I want you to talk about that. Now, just west, if you guys don't know, just west of Detroit, it could almost be a suburb. In some cities, like in LA, Ann Arbor would just be part of a metro.
Oh, yeah,
But Ann
yeah.
Arbor is the home of the University of Michigan. And like that's only
Um,
45-minute drive. What county
yeah,
is that?
that's ooh,
And
ooh.
then to the north,
It might be Livingston. I mean, I
okay.
gotta.
And then tell
mm,
them about the north key. To the north, you got Michigan State, which is
yeah,
another
you got Michigan
huge.
State and Lansing.
Okay, what county is
Um,
that?
uh, Maybe Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we got so many doggone counties. I can't. But U of M is my alma mater. Um, but yeah, I mean, we have large areas, okay? But when you get to these areas of Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland County, that's where the people are. When you start drifting out, now it's getting sparse, for every 6 miles is one house, so the population starts to dwindle a little bit. But in the three tri-counties, that is where it's popping. And Detroit is, I mean, I was so shocked this afternoon with the numbers coming in just from Detroit. And that would, if we hit that marker with another 50,000 and more,
Wow.
we're going to be over 50% of the population of the city voting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
So I'm praying. I got my sticker.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there so now when do you expect like the votes to be tabulated? I mean, will it because you talked about the upgrades, and I've seen like Jocelyn Benson on, of course. Shout
Yeah.
out to Big Gretch, that's my girl, Big Gretch, the
Our
governor.
governor. Yeah, and Jocelyn
and,
is our
and,
secretary.
and go to show you that Governor Whitmer, she didn't F around to find out. She knows what side her bread is buttered on.
Yeah.
So explain, and Key, I know you explained it on the show. Shout out to Sean Mitchell. Sean has got everything going in the back, y'all. He's gonna explain that to you in a minute. But so the story behind the name Big Gretch, who gave her that
Oh,
nickname, Key?
the city of Detroit.
Y'all did.
And the way it happened was when Trump, during the COVID crisis, labeled her that woman. And so the city's response was, oh, this is Big Gretch, because she stood up for our area, our state, and said, I'm shutting this down because I don't want more people to die. So that's where Big Gretch comes from. And then she later added the buff glasses.
Right, I'm glad you talked about that. Yeah. So the buff, those are certain kind of sunglasses, like I guess like the Gen Z's
Yeah.
wear. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
the hip, trendy kind of thing. And so she wears them proudly. And just another little bit of context, she normally would not like to be called Big Gretch or Gretch as a nickname. But because of Detroit, she has grown to love it. And now she says she wouldn't call herself anything other than Big Gretch. So, yeah.
See,
So,
only black folks can come up with a nickname that cool. We good. We're gonna give you a nickname now.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
earn it.
If we love you, for sure.
Yeah.
So
And if we don't like you, we're gonna give you another nickname.
we're gonna
like
give
Orange
you another
Hitler.
name too. Yeah, that part. But I'm excited tonight, Geno. I'm praying we make history. If you look at my name, I have a number there before I jump off. It is a national prayer line that is going on every hour.
I see it. Yes.
At the top of every hour, the number is there, and then the access code is there.
So at
So
605, Key, go ahead. Tell us what is that? What's that number?
605-314-5579.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
write
the
it.
phone number.
I'm gonna write it down, so I'll have
Yep,
it. 'Cause I know you gotta run.
605-314-5579.
605 is the area code.
Yep, 605 area code,
Okay.
314
314
5579.
55 who?
79.
79. And then the code is
The access code is 745 0433.
That's what I love about live TV. This is a national. I'm writing this down, guys. If you see my head, prayer. Sorry, my hair. Shout out to Markel Bailey. So the hair, the haircut is fresh. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Mitchell is joined us live. He'll be back on camera. Key's got to run. Key,
yeah, but let me explain, Geno, that at the top of every hour, they will be starting a prayer for Kamala Harris.
Wow. Who put this together?
I'm not sure, Geno. Because I get so many texts from all my sorority sisters and whatnot. It popped up and they said, hey, jump on at some point today and pray. And so I'm sharing it with your audience.
So this came from one of your sorors?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Divine Nine. Speaking of the Divine Nine, Key, there's one of your Divine Nine brothers right there.
What's up, Greek?
Well, what's up, Greek? What's happening, Keila? How you doing, Miss Carson?
I'm good. How are you?
I know you got the fight going on up there in Michigan.
Yes.
All right, let me say this. Let me say this right now, because Thanksgiving is the next big battle, and you know what's happening on Thanksgiving. The Chicago Bears will come into Detroit.
I know. I knew you were going to say
and put the hammer down. But we're gonna get to that a little later on. I'll join the show that week before Thanksgiving, just to wager with you, Mr. Detroit.
Yeah, Sean, we're gonna have to talk about that. We're gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what I want to know from you though is what's happening on the street in Detroit, in Michigan. Our little cousin up there to the north. What's going on?
So Sean, she getting ready to run, but Key, if you don't mind, just talk about what you told me. This breaking news, because I haven't even heard that on TV. But the city of Detroit has already broken a record.
Well, we're close.
Okay.
So, and we may have already broken it because, Sean, as of 3 p.m. this afternoon, we were 50,000 votes shy of beating the turnout from 2020.
All right.
Yeah, and that was 3 o'clock this afternoon. So
and
we closed.
The poll is still open, right, Key? Till
7?
it
closes at 8.
8. Oh, so you got another hour and 10 minutes, Detroit City in Michigan.
Yeah. So we still got time to go. Now, listen, you got to be in line before 8 o'clock. But if you are in line before 8, you can vote. And we are slow. Remember, I just want to remind people, it's nothing wrong with Michigan. We are just slower in the tabulation of the votes. So you're going to have to wait because we don't close until 8.
Yes, good point, Key. And then, of course, counties like Wayne County, where Detroit is, Oakland County. So, Sean, Keila lives and voted, her and her daughter, in Macomb County.
Yeah, the county that gave
the new battleground.
That
is the hot spot up there. Let me say this. I'm so proud of all my people in Detroit. You did your one black job today. And over the last couple of weeks, you went out and voted. And so I'm excited. You see, I've already got my refreshment. As we knock off states, then the scotch will come out.
Yeah.
But right now, we're going to keep it here.
Right, so, Key. Geno, I'm going to jump off because
you got to run. Thank you, Key.
Working on a paper from one of your historical figures, Mary McLeod Bethune from Maysville, South Carolina. So I'm working on a paper and I got to get back to it so I
So
can
listen,
submit.
Another mother of the HBCU.
Yes,
yes.
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 So Key, thank you, sweet. Now listen, don't lose your link. If something really big jumps off in a couple
I'll
hours, because
text you.
I'm probably gonna be live at least until 9 o'clock Eastern time,
Okay.
if not longer. But if something big breaks, you can jump on. But thank you. But that's
Okay.
really good news, everybody watching.
Yeah.
Detroit City, Michigan, Wayne County, Oakland County, stand up, black folks
Yep.
Yes.
represent.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
All right, Keith.
See you,
Thank
Yes.
you.
Professor Mitchell. Bye,
All
Gino.
right,
Yes.
all right, Keith. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
So
Bye
Sean,
bye.
that's huge, man. When she jumped on and
Yeah,
told us that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah. All news. That's
yeah,
that's real huge.
yeah.
I'm proud of folks that are out to vote everywhere and every place I've talked to. There's been lines around the building, and a lot of people went out and voted early. I could tell because the stores were crowded all day because people buying their celebration. I saw a lot of alcohol
Really, in
and
Chicago,
snacks
there in suburban Chicago.
in the suburban Chicago. I mean, I think over the last since President Obama, this day has become more celebratory, where
Yes,
folks
good point.
recognize that they need to assert their rights, and we continue. We'll probably have, I'm more than certain, the largest voter turnout. Let's put partisanship aside. Let's just talk about voting because I think we all in the country becomes better when everybody participates. And so it's important that people exercise their right to vote because it's a way of showing the politicians and the people that we send to, whether it's the city council, the county board, the school board, the state assembly, the governor's office, the Congress, the Senate, and the President of the United States, that we hold all these people responsible. Look, I'm a proud Kamala supporter. I have my Kamala shirt on today.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
And so we can do that. But trust and believe that on January 22nd, it's time for President Harris to be held accountable like you do with anyone. It's the same thing that I said when President Barack Obama became president, and it was uncomfortable for people. So hopefully we understand that it's not about criticizing that person, it's about accountability. And not only that, you are accountable to them by making them do what they need to do. One of the most famous quote from a president was, I believe, from Truman, where he told Congress, "You want it done?" No, excuse me, that was Lyndon B. Johnson. Sorry. That's why our guest coming up later on is also a historian, a major and graduate of Morehouse. Will talk more about the history because I get my dates mixed up sometimes when I talk the history. But Lyndon B. Johnson told Congress when they told black folks about the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, make me go do it. So what did black people do? They voted and they put elected officials in charge to get the agenda through. Now, I know most of us listening have already voted, but if you have not, it's important that you send Kamala Harris to the White House with a Senate
Yes.
that can pass and get legislation and her judges through, okay? And a House where she can propose and shape legislation. So it's important that she has blue majorities, no matter how large or slim they are, in those two houses, or guess what? The agenda is going to stall and go nowhere, looming before she even becomes president. But when the new House is seated, will be the appropriations bill to get us to pass a budget. Because right now it's just being kicked down the can because Mike Johnson, a Republican Speaker of the House, controls the agenda. So we need to make sure that changes.
Amendment
Tonight
code
needs to be
amendment.
historic because we're going to not only elect a black woman president, we're going to elect the first Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, another black man. So
That's
you
right.
have to keep your eyes on the long range and the big perspective, you know, and not just vote for the president. I know some of you are in the line, those on the West Coast, you still got time to vote. Make sure you're voting blue all the way down the ticket because you want your local to control the state legislation because no matter how you vote, At the end of the day, in your states, they control abortion until a federal law is codified.
Yes.
And what is it going to take to get a federal law codified? Majorities for the Democrats. And they're going to have to bring along in the Senate probably at least 15 or 16 Republicans to codify abortion.
Or,
That's,
let me say this, Sean, or just have the guts, and I believe President-elect, soon-to-be Harris, has spoken to, she would be open to get rid of this nonsense filibuster rule that they have in
yeah,
the U.S. Senate. And let's explain, we don't
I
want to
agree
talk
with
over
that.
anybody's head. So
Right, right,
in
right.
barbershop and beauty shop terminology, let explain to everybody what the filibuster is in government.
Okay. So in the Senate, by their own rules, this is not a law. So if somebody tries to tell you a law, they're lying. They have a rule that in order to pass legislation, you need a supermajority, not just the 50 plus one. You need 67 votes to get legislation out of committee and onto the floor in order for the Senate to pass. So it can't go through cloture without 67 votes. So it's very important that you understand what I'm saying. Even if the Democrats control a 50% House, unless they break for cloture, and sometimes things do go through and Republicans don't vote for the bill, but they'll send it through because it looks even worse in particular situations that they didn't even let it get to the floor, like the farm bill, where they'll say, okay, let it go. And then when you see the votes, you're like, oh, well, only 53 people voted and it passed. No, the 67 rule is an internal Senate rule, which to me is anti democratic. But I tend to argue that be careful what you ask for, because there will come a day when you get rid of that and Republicans will have control and they'll start passing crazy legislation at 50. So it is a check, and I know, trust and believe. And I wouldn't be upset if the president did it, wanted to change, and the Senate went along with it. But I'd be careful because I've lived in a world where this thing swings from side to side. I can remember a world where there were about 68 or 69 Democrats when President Barack Obama became president. Excuse me, it's 58 or 59,
Yeah. Well,
and Senator
he
passed.
had he had 60 for a minute, but what happened?
Yeah,
Ted Kennedy passed, and then
yeah.
it dropped down to 59. So
Excuse me, and my correction is I don't know. I got numbers in my head. It's 60
yeah.
to break closer
Mm-hmm.
for something to pass. I'm thinking for an amendment, 67% or whatever. But so forgive me for that. And if you're on YouTube correcting me, thank you.
Or Sean, to override a presidential veto, I think
So a veto is 67.
2/3,
That's
which means
yeah, 67.
right, the president can basically, let's say, sign a law and not want to do it. But if the Senate can get 67 senators, they can kind of
Then
override.
they can override. They can override. It goes back and it starts through. You can still buy Schoolhouse Rock for those of you. You should share it with a Trump friend, Schoolhouse Rock, so that they understand. One of my favorites growing up, eating Frosting Flakes in front of the TV on Saturday morning was "It's Only a Bill
Yep.
in Conjunction Function."
Right. It's
Like
only a
sometimes I
bill
read.
on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I used to love that. And so that's just the nerd in me. And I know some people are laughing, but thank God for public TV because we wouldn't have had that.
Yes.
And it's sad, unfortunately, now the Saturday morning cartoons are more for selling toys and video games and other stuff instead of it had an educational moment. We both are. You're more a little bit more of a older brother, but we're both in that Sesame Street Electric
Oh yeah.
Company generation.
Well,
And
well,
and
Sean, I'm sure you know this. So like PBS and Sesame Street and Electric Company, so the federal government, so these shows are created to help you know, black children, Hispanic children, what they call
Yes,
low
yes,
income, or you know, to
yes,
kind of
yes.
close the education gap. You
They
know,
would call it DEI today.
yes,
DEI
yes,
education, because that's what they were doing. The black community. Uh, let's back up. We have to, if we're going to talk about that, then you have to talk about Brown versus the Board of Education and what happened post Brown, because post Brown in places all over the South in particular, but yes, in northern areas did this too. You know, as Malcolm X said, the Mason Dixon line starts at Canada. You know, I'm from Illinois, and Dr. King talked about some of the most hated racism he ever met was in the west side of
it's
Chicago and
Cicero,
Cicero,
Illinois, suburban
Illinois.
Chicago. Yes,
So don't get it twisted. Like, and I'm going to talk about this later on by all those special Negroes or those magic Negroes that think money and influence insulates them from whatever terrors that a Trump administration can bring. No, it doesn't. Ask some of the Jewish folks in Germany, not comparing him to Hitler, but simply saying to my Hispanic friends who are American citizens, when they start rounding up and deporting illegal immigrants, you may be one of them or a family member. And I'm willing to say, forbid he gets elected, 4 years from now, when we're doing this show to try to get him out, should he be elected, you will be saying, Sean, you were so right, and naming off lists of relatives who have been sent to a country that they've never been to or they have no way of doing it. And that's why the cruelty is part of the policy with the MAGA people. I'm not even calling them MAGA Republicans because that's not even it.
no, there's no more
They are MAGA people.
Right,
They are their own thing
right.
to it. And the great thing, Republicans, we will need you to defeat that on a complete level. So thank you for voting for Kamala Harris if you did today, or thank you for voting for a third party and not voting for Trump. That is a win too.
Right, and let me
And
jump
so
in.
I want to acknowledge that.
Let me jump in and say this because I want to piggyback on what you were talking about in terms of remember to my Hispanic brothers and sisters out there. This is the dude in 2016 came down the elevator and said that Mexicans are rapists. Remember that? So I understand that some of
I'm cooking, so
Hispanic brothers and sisters, maybe some Mexicans, some of the Cubans
right.
who identify themselves as white Cuban or white adjacent Cuban. No, the cult will come for you. Listen, the cult came for Mike Pence. He was an old, rich white dude that had kissed Trump, or as I call him on the show, Orange Hitler's ass, for 4 years. But because that he didn't want to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power and making sure that the electoral votes were counted, and Trump sent the MAGA mob to literally hang Mike Pence, and they came to the U.S. Capitol with a gallows, with a hangman's noose on the gallows, and set it on top of the steps of the U.S. Capitol, looking and chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," looking to hang this dude. So please understand. Trust and believe and understand. The cult will come for you too, even my white brothers and sisters, if you don't bend the knee and kiss the ass and the pinky ring of Orange Hitler. But fortunately, black women and women are going to save this democracy, and Madam President Kamala Harris is going to be, she will be our next president. 47. A lot of people saying AKA 47. So AKA is her sorority. She'll be the 47th president. So you may see on social media, hashtag AKA her sorority. She's part of the Divine Nine, the Black Greek organization, 47th president. But to piggyback on what you were saying, Sean, so not only, because I know we said let's get into it now. So we got some of the Hispanic, our Afro-Latino brothers, because the Puerto Rican brothers, the Puerto Rican ones and sisters that was on the MAGA train.
That was the gift. Yeah,
they found out.
That was the gift that will keep on giving.
Yep.
They
and my Dominican brothers and sisters. So you see what he think about. What he said is just about like all these countries with black folks in the Caribbean, called them shithole countries, Africa, And Sean said earlier to some of you Negroes, yes, some of you Negroes that think that your money or your adjacency to white supremacy, white nationalism,
Right.
and your
You're
money or
right.
maybe your fame will insulate
You're
you
right.
from the racism, the hatred, the misogyny, the sexism. And even white
Right.
women have found out, Sean, that
Right.
even their whiteness did not protect them from the patriarchy and sexism of their own men. So none of that will protect you from the cult. Just ask
It,
Mike
it,
Pence.
it's real unfortunate that people vote against their own interests. If you don't believe me, you should read a book. It may not apply to Kansas as much today as it did about 20 years ago, but what's the matter with Kansas? That every time they consistently voted against their own interests, people use all. I think Donald Trump isn't like a model figure to be the example of why people are voting for him. I think what he is, he's a vessel for how a particular subset of Americans think about America. We have to be honest. There is a subset of Americans that have a problem with everything that has happened in the country as it evolved from when they claim America was great. What is Donald Trump when he says, let's make America great? You know, even Coke, Pepsi, Sprite over the last 4 years have changed their marketing campaign. Trump ran on Make America Great, and now he's running on Make America Great Again. Now think about that. Because prior to Trump running, Ronald Reagan ran on Make America Great. Where did Ronald Reagan get that from? He got that from the Governor Wallace of Alabama, who said, Make America white again. Where did Donald Trump go that is similar to all three? Where civil rights workers were killed in Mississippi, all three, Wallace, Reagan, and Trump, held, if not their first, though the other two, I know their first campaign rallies were in that place. But one of Trump's early campaign rallies were in that same place. Now, I'm not making this up. Like
No,
some of y'all go get
I
information
forgot
off
what county it was
YouTube,
in
or you got a
Mississippi.
meme.
I think
I can't think of it. I'm now a 50-plus-year-old man that has lived life. I can't remember it. That's why our next guest is going to be awesome because I want to say it's Philadelphia, Mississippi.
No, it is. It was. That's exactly. I can't
Okay.
remember the county, but it was
Yeah.
Philadelphia, Mississippi. I was just about to
Yeah.
say that. Yes. Let me jump in,
So
Sean. I got some breaking news.
think about the symbolism that I just laid out.
Hold that thought. I want you to pick up from there. But breaking news. So you and I were talking about Indiana earlier, but it looks like I got MSNBC on projection. NBC News is projecting that Orange Hitler will win Indiana, but who you think is going to win Vermont?
I figure Harris would win Vermont without any big problems. That's Bernie Sanders territory. That's a very independent, liberal, independent, rugged place.
Well, yes, the NBC projected that she will win Vermont, so she's got that one down there.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm looking at MSNBC too. I'm too busy talking, but I just see a few votes just dumped in for Virginia. So a lot of these early results will either be early vote from counties that report, usually the smaller counties.
Let's do this real quick. Let's do this real quick because I can see it, but it's gone now. So North Carolina, the polls close at 7:30. East Coast time is 7:11. So that's roughly 19 minutes. 19 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Michigan.
Remember, stay in line if you're in line. Don't leave the line.
Michigan is Kilo told us 8 o'clock East Coast time. So that's another 48 and a half minutes.
Yes.
Pennsylvania, I think, is it 9? It's 8 or 9.
Yes.
It's not on the screen now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
I think Pennsylvania is 8 or 9 because
It is.
how vast
It
the
was on the
state is,
screen.
so it kind of changes up.
Yeah, it was on the screen, but I can't see it now. But it was either 8 or 9. So, but Michigan will close at 8. Polls close
Right.
at 8. I'm here in South Carolina, which is a red state.
Right.
So the polls closed here 12 minutes ago. Polls closed. Now, Sean, you're there in Illinois, reliably blue state. So,
Right.
President-elect
The big
Kamala's-
thing in Illinois, though, and probably in a lot of states, and I think in the future, I would love to always do a show about this to create a network of the Overwatch groups that watch judges. I think that that's the next step of educating our electorate about organizations. I happen to work for an organization that does court watching. Chicago Appleseed, a part of the Appleseed network throughout the country. And we have individuals who watch courts, we grade judges and follow them to make sure they're allowing access to justice. Now, these are all nonpartisan, but it's simply, I know I talk to a lot of people who say, I go in and I didn't know who to vote for. I see all these different names. I can remember growing up, my grandparents said they always voted for a certain type of ethnic name, to try to, like if it's Johnson, they're going to vote for Johnson because it's probably a black person, or Washington, or whatever. And I've heard my Caucasian friends that are Irish say, I always vote for the Irish name. In a place like Chicago that is white diversity along with black and Latin diversity. It's like an
Irish,
international
Italian,
city. Irish,
German,
I grew
Polish,
up with Polish, German, people
Eastern
from
Europe,
Romania, Lithuania, Russian,
Ukrainian,
all my life.
Yep.
Asia, all various types of what we would call Far Eastern, from Japan, China, the Philippines,
Korea.
Vietnamese, Cambodian, Korea, all those things. And so in Chicago, you'll walk into a polling place and you'll see like 20 different languages represented, and that's forgetting about my Middle Eastern Arab brothers and sisters, or my African brothers and sisters who speak from wide ranges of French,
those from India,
or
I see more
India.
people from India
That's
in
another
Chicago,
large population. I live in the far suburbs of Chicago, and there's a very large population of people from India. And so the beautiful thing about growing up in Chicago, especially if you're fortunate enough like I was to grow up in the suburbs, not discounting anybody else, but just my experiences, is that I grew up with this wide range of different types of white people that also taught me that I could relate to some. I tended, Polish people were predominant in my area and tend to have good relationships with people of Polish descent. And so speaking of that, with Chicago, and Illinois is relatively blue. Yes, downstate looks more like a purple pink place, and there are red areas in Chicago. Even parts of the suburbs are red, but it's pretty reliably blue because it's just the dominance of unions. It's a Democratic state. Yeah, every now and then they'll elect a Republican governor, but it's been a long. I think Ronald Reagan was the last Republican president to win the state of Illinois. Yeah, that's about
he won?
right.
Really? I don't remember. Wow.
Yeah, he beat. I can remember that was the first election as a kid that I knew what was going on. I was old enough, and I remember how much I was cheering for Jimmy Carter. And I remember the night that he won. And this is the first time I'm watching the states, and they used to have this board. Like now we got computers doing all this, but they literally had a board with like a red light or a blue light behind it that they crafted, and it would light up when the guy would come on. And just now, NBC is proud to announce that Michigan has went for Ronald Reagan. And I can remember my grandfather being this union guy and just despising Ronald Reagan, just like absolutely hating Ronald Reagan. It's like, oh my God, he's going to destroy unions. And look,
well, he did.
My grandfather was very accurate about everything he said with a third grade education back in 1980 He said that these companies are shipping American jobs off to overseas. And by the time you're old enough, by the time you're 52, like I am, there will not be union jobs and all of that like they are now. And he was exactly right. He worked for the same company for 42 years. And I've had 10 times more jobs
Right.
in my lifetime. Now, that wasn't a path for me. I'm not upset that that wasn't for me, but what he was really saying is with very minimal skills and low education and just the desire to do hard work, you will no longer be able to make as much money as I make. In the early 70s, my grandfather was making like $70,000 a year. In today's money, as a union tool and die guy with a third grade education making electromotive engines that when I watch a train go by on the railroad track, it never fails that I remember. How did he have that good job? He had that good job because he was a union guy,
Yeah.
had gotten a union and got fortunate and worked that job that afforded him to move his family, to buy a house when redlining was going on, and to pay the added money to own a house on the west side, sell that house and buy another house in Maywood, where he originally came to Chicago from back in the 40s, but he moved to the west side because it was easier to get a home as a black person because of redlining.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did he do? He took care of his wife, his children, and moved us to a better home in Broadview, where I grew up to have the education and the opportunities I have. My brother is a business owner. My other brother is a production. He's just like Granddaddy, a union guy at a plant, and my sister is a business. And our kids are very successful. And that was all afforded because my grandparents got the opportunity and took advantage of some opportunities and even weathered through redlining and racism. But I wouldn't be able to stand here to talk to these individuals today that's listening to us if it wasn't for them. And
I'm
I vote every single time because of them, because they were the ones getting water hosed and bricks thrown at and yelled at and cursed out, and literacy tests to give me the opportunity to vote. So when I hear black men or young black people or even white people that say they don't vote, I just shake my head. When people say the system is too big, the reason why the system is too big is designed to frustrate and keep you on the sidelines. But the more and more of us vote, then more and more states will become battleground states. I would love to see one day where the president has to go to all 50 states in order to get elected.
Well, let's
Wouldn't
talk.
that be beautiful?
Here, that's a. I think that's a pivot point. Let's pivot. But before I pivot, I'm looking. So some early votes in Georgia. The polls closed at 7 o'clock. So there's one county.
I'm going to check on my food.
Okay.
When you give updates on online programming, I will go check my food.
All right, well, go check your food. I'm looking at, let's see, Gwinnett County. All right, Gwinnett County, you got votes in. I'm looking at Georgia.
Bing, bing.
There was one county in Georgia, Gwinnett, Kamala Harris is up like 60% to 40. And there was another county that near Atlanta, I forgot that county, that she was up like 61% in that county. This is like we're 0% in Gwinnett County. Kamala Harris has got 59.4. And then there was a red county in Georgia where in 20, Orange Hitler got 81% of the vote, but he only got 80 this time. So Kamala Harris kind of got jumped up like 1 point. So, and so Fulton County is basically what Wayne County is to Michigan because of the city of Detroit and the surrounding suburbs. Well, Fulton County is that because Fulton County is where the city of Atlanta, but Fulton County is also, I think, is, I don't know, there's some other, I don't know if Marietta is in Fulton County, but I know the city of Atlanta, that is Fulton County. Gwinnett County, which is kind of right outside Atlanta, is what, Gwinnett County, because we got family there. So Fulton County is southwest. Yep, southwest. Yep, southwest of like downtown Atlanta. It used to be like like Gwinnett County used to be like all white. Now it's probably more black. At least as many blacks as white. I think it may be majority African American now. A lot of blacks live in Gwinnett County, which explains the vote. The early vote was 0% in Gwinnett County. 59.4%. So roughly 60% of the vote, with just at 0%, was for Vice President Kamala Harris. All right, so if you just tuning in, this is a special election night coverage here live on the Geno Jones Show Live. Shout out to Keela Carson. She came on earlier. She talked about at 3 o'clock that the city of Detroit was only about 50,000 votes away from basically passing, I don't know if it was the record, but the total amount of people that voted out of the city of Detroit. And so at 3 o'clock, that was, wow, 4 hours ago. So at 3 o'clock, they were only 50,000 votes away from passing the vote total for all of Detroit in the 2020 presidential election. So they have probably blown past that right now. Turnout in Detroit, Michigan, Wayne County, also Oakland County, Macomb County, where Keela lives, which is a huge county that in 2016, Orange Hitler won that county because it had been Democratic. Now, I don't know if Macomb, I don't know if Trump won it, if Orange Hitler won it. He won it by a smaller margin, by less than he did in 2016. But I know Biden may have got Macomb County, but Biden did win Michigan. He definitely won Michigan. So Michigan, the turnout has been like off the chain, we've been told. As a matter of fact, we will have somebody, a brother named Cal Burlock, a friend of Sean's. So now he's a friend of the show and of mine. He is the CEO of a company called Driven Systems. Sean said he's like a historian, just a brilliant brother. So we're looking forward to getting him back. So how's the food?
Entrepreneur.
Food
well,
okay?
It's coming along good. Yeah, the food's coming along good. So let everybody know what I'm doing. I treat the election like it's Super Bowl. And so I grew up as a fat kid. You know, I took breakfast for lunch when I was in grade school, dinner, and cooked a different dessert at least every other night of the week. Well, I decided I'm going to make a chicken Philly cheesesteak egg roll. And I've already grilled my chicken for some Southwest Chipotle nachos. And then, I mean, I already barbecued some crab legs and lobster tails
Oh,
on
you got it
Sunday
going,
that I'm
man.
refreshing.
Wow.
And some grilled corn and asparagus that I just did earlier.
Chef
And,
Mitchell,
then I
y'all didn't know that,
obviously
did
got
you? Chef,
my beer.
Chef Mitchell.
And yes, I could open up a restaurant if I just decided to move to a island. I would open up a restaurant bar.
All right, so listen, let me stop you here, since you're standing up
Mhm.
and you people can see your Kamala shirt. So
Okay.
one of your biggest fans, my mother, is like, she, of course, while she said,
Hey, Mama.
tell you hi, and that she's proud of you, she loves you. But
Thank
so
you.
now
Thank you.
you
Tell
done
her I voted for her today. I voted for her. I voted for Kamala for her, for all the women, all the black women, the women from HBCUs that were impactful early in my life, the teachers I've had, the sisters, even the sisters that I used to argue with in school and growing up, and my childhood friends. I voted for all of you, for my daughters, my grandbabies, my future grandbabies, the grandkids I'll never ever see, great, 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 great. I did all of this for them, you know, and I think it takes a strong, secure man to recognize the impact that women have played in their lives and be able to recognize when public policy is endangering women's lives, then the least you could do is step into the gap to make sure you protect women's lives. And I'm going to say this last thing on this. If you're not willing to vote for President of the United States because she's a woman, you're a coward. And there's no other way to define that. If you're a woman that's not voting for her because she's a woman, you're jealous and insecure, and I pray you get the therapy, both of you, that you need to help you in life.
And
because the world is not this envision of white male dominance. we all share this planet. We all share this space, and we all deserve opportunity to sit at the table and have adult conversations to solve our issues, differences, disagreements, to make this a better place, a better planet, a better country, a better future.
And
That's
don't
just
and
the way
don't
I
give
see it.
us and don't give us this remixed version of Christianity and your remixed Bible that's talked about, where your only man can be leaders. Just stop with that foolishness. Because like I've said many times on this show,
That, they used to say in the Bible that only black people could be
yeah.
slaves. I know I'm quoting it, and I know some of y'all
Oh,
say that's not
yeah.
what it's saying, but that's how they use it.
Right.
So
So let me
stop
hit
it
it.
with the Bible thumping stuff. That doesn't work. All it shows to me is either your lack of intelligence or your lack of integrity.
And
I don't know which one you're going to choose, but it's one of them.
let me hit him with this, Sean. First of all, and I've said this on this show, y'all do understand that this version of Christianity, especially this white evangelical Christianity, is remixed. I call it, that's a nice way of saying it, is remixed, your remixed version of Christianity. Because if you really understood the history of Christianity, the origins of Christianity was not in the South in some white evangelical church. No, it wasn't. It was the continent of Africa. Google Coptic Christians, the origins of Christianity, Ethiopia, that region of the continent of Africa. So y'all really want to have that conversation, but I digress about that. So, and Sean will be back on. I know he's checking his food, but when he comes back, I want to address for the men. So, Sean, I also wanted to amplify the point that you were talking about in terms of the men who let their misogyny, sexism, or insecurity
Yeah,
have them hate on
yeah,
Kamala. Let me say this, and I've said this, as a matter of fact, that was like the theme really all last week on my show. I had been saying it throughout, but I made it a special point of emphasis. I'm gonna put you up on game. To my young brothers that's watching, my young millennials, my young Gen Zers, and maybe some not so young. Let's talk about a real man. Sean is here with me. I'm gonna tell you the one thing any real man wants to do, he can be a billionaire or he can be broke and homeless. The one thing any real man wants to do is to protect the women in his life and around him. I'm saying that again. A real man wants to make sure that he can protect the women in his life. Voting President-elect soon-to-be Kamala Harris will help to protect the women in your life, your daughters, your nieces, your granddaughters maybe, your wife, your sister, your mother. All these states, 20 states, including all these southern states, including South Carolina, that have these abortion bans to where women are dying. Women like Amber Nicole Thurman, a young sister out of Georgia, 28, couldn't get the emergency health care that she needed. Just a simple procedure, the same procedure that is used in abortions to terminate a pregnancy. She couldn't get it because she lived in Georgia. Trump abortion ban, 6-week abortion ban. The hospital wouldn't even admit her till she was damn near dead and bled out almost. Unfortunately, they were not able to save her. She died. She was 28 years old. She's got a 6-year-old son still here with his grandmother and his aunts and the rest of his family. No mom, who should be alive. A simple procedure. 30-minute procedure, doctors have told me, not even an hour, could have saved her life. And many other women. I saw some young women, Hispanic women in Texas. Or here's a woman in South Carolina, and I want to get her name, and I meant to write it down. It was a young black woman in South Carolina, had a miscarriage. And law enforcement in this state, because of this abortion ban, they had the nerve to arrest this woman because she had a miscarriage. They thought that she intentionally aborted her pregnancy when the woman had a miscarriage. She was actually locked up. Thank God, eventually, the charges were dropped. Can you think of the trauma? The trauma, the shock, everything? It's bad enough the woman had a miscarriage, lost a child, and then police come to your door and arrest you because you had a miscarriage? What kind of bullshit is this? How backwards are these abortion bans? And if Orange Hitler got in office, that would be the case nationwide in Illinois, Chicago, New York City, in Philly, in Pittsburgh, in Detroit, in Cleveland, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. It's already like that in Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. Abortion bans, and women are dying, or damn near dying, damn near bleeding out to death. The ones that survive, in many cases, their body is ruined to where they can't have children anymore. You're voting to protect, once again, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. This election, and you still have time to vote out on the West Coast, even in, let's see here, in Michigan, the polls are open until 8 o'clock. So you got 27 minutes to choose to vote for not just your freedom. Sean's made a point that I was making all last week. Vice President, soon to be President-elect Kamala Harris is the vessel on that ballot. She is the vessel to your freedom, to protect your freedom and your family's freedom, as opposed to the oppression that Orange Hitler and the MAGA cult want to impose on virtually everybody, but wealthy white males, billionaires. Kind of like the founding of this country, the Constitution, the only people that could vote. The language was in the Constitution, wealthy white male landowners. Yep. Translation, today, billionaires. You had to have money. Even poor white men couldn't vote. Wealthy white male, they had to own land. So 249 years later, 48, almost, 248 years later, things haven't changed that much. They changed a lot, but some things still haven't changed. So, Sean, so here, I got a bone to pick with you, so that my mother, now you costing me some money, so because she's seen that shirt, and she's like, I want that Kamala Harris t-shirt. So you had to tell me where you ordered it.
I will have to find out. Yeah, I will have to find out. Normally would know, but this is a gift to me.
Okay.
Because my house is entirely Kamala. It's been Kamala for a long time. And so, I was fortunate enough to get a gift, but I will find out and share that.
Yeah, it'll be easy to find. I got you, mother. You know I'm having fun. I got you, mother.
Yeah. I'll make sure I share it. I got it right away. I actually didn't order it it wasn't ordered until Sunday. And so I was able to get it. I was busy thinking about food for the celebration and not so much what gear I was going to have on. I felt like because Madam Vice President is the HBCU graduate of Howard University, I'm not going to discuss how terrible they are in football compared to Grambling State University or how great the Grambling State University band is. But I also will say that I know a lot of people that went to Howard. It's an outstanding school. I advise anybody, no matter what color you are, if your kid can get a scholarship to Howard, send them right away. I'm just saying, it's a great school. But there's also many great HBCUs, Grambling State University. I can't forget about my friends. One coming up in a moment will be Cal Burlock. He is a Morehouse man. You almost, when you talk about Morehouse, even if you didn't go there, but if you're a black male, you have to refer to them as Morehouse men.
Yes.
And, there's a mystique to it. That's that Samuel Jackson, Dr. King, Spike Lee. It's an aura to the Morehouse men. So hat outs. And I can't forget about the sisters at Spelman. The SWAC, I'm just saying it
Clark,
as a
Atlanta,
whole.
right there too.
Clark,
Yep.
Atlanta, the SWAC conference, the MEAC. I have friends that went to North Carolina A&T. People, my grandfather grew up in Huntsville, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn. That's McNair. Remember, we had some great athletes like even Jackson State was able to produce Walter Payton. Shout out to my Jackson State people because Grambling and Jackson State used to be real big rivalries, but when SWAC grew and they separated it east and west, it's still a big rivalry. They think they got their little band, think they loud. But there are a lot of HBCU graduates, and I always say this, and I think it's important that people hear this. 85% or more of your professional, black professionals, that means folks holding master degrees, JDs like myself, and doctorates, all got their undergraduate degree from an
Yeah.
HBCU. So it's very important that we don't undervalue, underrate our historically black colleges. Remember, they were created under the premise of separate be equal, but they've always excelled. And so if you're listening, if you've attended one, I haven't always had much money to donate back to Grambling, but I try to contribute what I can when I can on a regular basis. And we should be doing that to support our HBCUs. We should be able to start building endowments for these universities because we don't want them to become political footballs the way Trump used it to say that he did so much for HBCUs when literally he cut money for HBCUs, but played like he was giving them extra money so they didn't have to come back every year and ask. They're begging me for money. Dude, it was just a photo op. You're a liar. And so that's not true. But also, with the same token, we need to support. And sometimes that support looks like sending your kid to an HBCU,
Yeah.
saying, hey, I know you want to go over here, but here's Grambling. And I graduated from there and they have a scholarship. And here's the other dynamic HBCUs, we need to do a better job of offering scholarships to our students too. And we could get into the details. That's a whole nother show about what HBCUs should be doing. But overall, the most important part about HBCUs is what they contribute, and most of our black professionals come from HBCUs. And speaking of a black professional, uh, uh, now Geno,
We're gonna bring him
I've
on, but
been knowing this young.
let me give you an update real quick, Sean. I'm just
Okay,
it's early, but the numbers out of North Carolina look really good for a president soon to be elect Kamala Harris, and they still haven't gotten like all the numbers from Charlotte, Raleigh, because it's a big. You got HBCU there, North Carolina A&T, but you got a lot of colleges. You got North Carolina, UNC, Duke. You got Winston Salem, Wake Forest. So you got a lot of you got colleges there. So those numbers look good. And there he is. All right, Sean. There's our brother. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
good evening, gentlemen. How are you all doing?
Brother Cal Burlock. Man, it's an honor to have you on there, Sean. Hey, Sean, listen, but let me get it. Let me get his number out. So
okay.
Keela Carson, for those who know, Keela is like my co-host on Fridays, our weekend review show. So this is a phone number. She said some of her sorrows sent her a text that this is
Mm,
this national prayer line for soon-to-be President-elect Kamala Harris. She said at the top of every hour, they have like this massive prayer, and this is the number. If you want to
okay.
make the call and be
Six
a
zero
part,
five three three
605,
one
yep,
four.
314 5579, and then the access code is 7450433. I think you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So all our spiritual people
yeah.
listening, definitely, if you could help out on that. So
So,
Gino, let me tell you the backstory. So as I was stating earlier, where we were talking about the civil rights movement, Brown v. Board of Education, the fact that Black people are able to get these middle class jobs. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have met this brother when I was probably about 12 or 13 as a camp counselor in Broadview, Illinois. He's a little younger than me, not much younger than me, but just a little bit younger than me. And one of the coolest things that I've always been a nerd, But one of the coolest things about Cal is that he's always had enough of that nerd, but he's kind of, a little bit more less nerdy outwardly. You have to talk to him to know, like, wow, this brother right here, he know a whole lot of stuff. This is one of the smartest black men I know. And I've been knowing him since I was 13, so that's like over 40 years. And I wanted to introduce, but I definitely wanted to bring him onto the show because tonight he's right there in Georgia. He's doing some of the hard background work that we're going to need for the next 4 years by creating an app for Black people. I'm sure he's going to share more information about that. But all things politics, all things history, all things spirituality, just all things Black folk. Cal Burlock.
There you go. Well, listen,
Welcome,
brother
brother.
Cal, welcome, CEO of a company called Driven Systems. First of all, brother, you are part of the Geno Jones Show family. Sean speaks so highly of you, so that's the ultimate. As my grandfather said, cosign. That's the old school term. So that's a
That's
hell of a
true.
cosign right there.
It
So
is.
listen, brother Cal, thank you, man, on this special night, taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm really honored and I'm really grateful. But Georgia is a passion of mine. I commuted back and forth between Georgia and Charleston for about 4 years. But I want to know because I've been, kind of stepping away. I got a monitor in the studio.
I'm
Sure.
off the
The angle is bad. I need to have it up here. So
Right.
give us the real. 'Cause I know some
Sure.
early numbers are out in Georgia.
Yeah.
Is I, I believe in the power of positive thinking. My grandmother, she would say, Jeannie, name it and claim it. Speak it
Yeah.
into existence. So I've been speaking it into existence and naming and claiming President-elect Kamala Harris. So what is it really looking like? I know the brothers and sisters, y'all really stood up. I mean, stood up and
Absolutely.
and showed out. So, is the brothers and sisters and the uh, those white Americans, Hispanic, those who will choose freedom and democracy over oppression and a dictatorship? What is it looking
Sure.
like there in Georgia?
Well, look, that is a great introduction. I used to always say that a personal reference from one man to another is the greatest gift that you can give him, and that was a great personal reference. Thank you so much, my brother Felix. He was the tall, sharp kid who kept us all in line when we were, in middle school,
That
right?
sounds like
And,
him. Yeah, that sounds
uh,
like him, man.
he's still that
Yeah, he
great
is.
leader. So I am honored to join you on this amazing night that I've been looking forward to, that we all have been looking forward to. I don't think that your positive statements are at all unwarranted, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But just to kind of piggyback on the nerdness, my specialties are good old fashioned science and social studies, right? You remember those subjects. I'm
Yeah.
a social scientist and a scientist, and have been a tech executive for a while in building something powerful for economic development and for social political advance have been my life's work. And so I hope to share with you tonight really the social political advance tools, because people like Stokely Carmichael said we needed organization. He said that's what Black people lack. We have the moral authority, we've got the expertise, we've got the people, we've got the heart and the spirituality, but where's the organization that actually puts that into a vehicle, right? All of us, when we travel, we go from point A to point B and we get into something, a machine, a system that gets us there. We have a lot of angst as a people and oftentimes don't build the solution vehicle to make the transfer. I hope to share that I've built the best vehicle yet.
No, listen. Let me
um,
let me just stop you there, brother Cal. You don't.
uh-huh.
Hope is important, but you don't have to hope anything on this show. That's why you're
Yeah.
here. Listen, I have a black-owned media company.
Uh-huh.
I kind of initially created it out of self-preservation, but I
Mm.
not in kind of. I had a vision
Uh-huh.
all along to be able to do the
Sure.
type of show that I wanted to do. I tell people, think of the Tonight Show with a funny, smarter, better-looking host. No shade to Jimmy Fallon, but Jimmy and Geno. But I use
Yes.
because I've been a media personality,
Hmm.
radio, TV, still number one radio show here in Charleston, South Carolina for 20 years.
Absolutely.
I've been doing my television show, this show, live on my YouTube channel for 4 years.
Ah, I love
October
it.
was the 4th year anniversary. The show
Look, I
turned.
love your city, man. I love Charleston,
It is
and to
it
know
is a
that you're
beautiful
there,
city.
For
And
years, I've traveled there, man, doing business. I've been at the harbor, area, had a whole like convention down there. I wish I had, had connected back then, but I'm glad we
well,
are now forward.
you
But
got family here now. You got the connection in North Charleston because we got the city of Charleston, the city of North Charleston,
sure, sure,
primarily Mount Pleasant. But
sure.
we have a black mayor, African American, who's a dear friend of
Mm,
mine. Full disclosure, been on the show many
mm.
times. He was the former police chief. He was the first African
Oh
American
wow,
police chief. Now their first African American mayor, Mayor Reggie Burgess.
wow.
So there's a
All
lot.
right.
There's a lot of untapped political power here
Yes,
in South Carolina, like it
yes,
is in Mississippi, and like it is in
yes, yes,
Louisiana. That's a
yes.
whole different story. Like it is in Alabama. Those are whole
Absolutely.
different stories. But I definitely want you to talk about that app because that's something
Sure,
I'm looking to do is to create an app. But
sure,
we need
sure.
to have more
So,
black-owned media. We need to have
sure,
black tech companies because
sure, sure.
now people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are really showing the world how racist that they are and giving us their
Yeah,
ass to
sure,
kiss. And
sure.
Elon, when President-elect Kamala Harris gets in, this gonna be one hellified come to Jesus conversation that somebody in that administration gonna have to have with Elon Musk because he's having these secret conversations with Putin, and then
Sure,
he's got the Starlink,
sure.
this
It, it,
weapon system that he's not letting Ukraine use, and Putin's
sure.
telling them, don't give it to Ukraine, and then the president of China, is talking about no, don't let the Taiwan use it. So I don't mean to go down this
Sure.
rabbit hole, but
No,
that's
it's relevant, brother. Look, it's relevant, and we need to talk about solutions for that because there are direct solutions. We don't have to be puzzled about how we got in this situation or what we need to do to untie those things. Obviously, and we can talk about this a little later. I don't want to take from that election, but obviously, a person who's a contractor of the government should not have political influence, should not be taking stage, should not be sharing data with a campaign that's completely illegal. His PAC is doing all kinds of illegal things. So we know that, but what has smoothed the way for that is the legal apparatus that corporate personhood has created. It's really the corporations. We'll talk about that.
yeah.
That's really a powerful point that most listeners don't know. If you always follow the money, as you know, that a golden rule,
Oh, say
follow the
that
money,
again. Always.
follow the money, follow the money. Like you see the basis of the money. And there's one fact I want to share after I say this about the election data coming in Georgia. I believe is going to be substantial. It's already showing up as great. Rockdale County came in at 76%, and it was, 10 points higher of a swing toward the Democratic
Really?
candidate. Yes. And now that's an early one county. That's a county that's just east of DeKalb. So a lot of, suburban movement from DeKalb, which is, metro Atlanta, right into
Hmm.
Rockdale. But it's a great sign that turnout, right, has been that. So I said this. I've been working on this app for a while. Stacey Abrams and I are classmates from Morehouse and Spelman,
No
and
kidding.
yeah, man,
Shout out.
and she's the same person.
Can I just stop you for a second, Cal?
Yes.
Because we got time. But I got it on. Shout out. And I've never had Stacey on. I'm a huge fan of hers. Latasha Brown, she's been on
Uh
my
huh.
show like two, at least twice.
I love her
Her and
too,
Cliff
man.
Averill, I love them.
Yeah.
But Stacey Abrams set it off. She should be governor because you wouldn't have that
Yes.
abortion ban, and Amber
Yes.
Nicole Thurman would be alive
Yes. That's
if
right.
Stacey Abrams. So for all those people who didn't vote for her, and especially I'm gonna call out, and it wasn't a lot, but and I'm not. So you could say,
Brother.
well, why you calling out black men? I'm not. I'm calling out the few, the minority, along with
Sure.
the MAGA cult,
Sure.
racist,
Sure.
sexist, misogynist, MAGA cult white dudes. We
Sure.
know what they want to do, but
Sure.
to that small handful of brothers that was
The-
on that misogynistic and racist, misogynist and sexist bullshit.
Yeah.
Understand, this is me saying this on my show, Geno Jones, on the Geno Jones Show. You got blood on your hands because Amber Nicole Thurman should be alive right now with her 6-year-old son and her mother and her sisters watching a black
Yes.
woman become president of the United States. But because of that abortion ban and because people didn't support Stacey Abrams the way they should have, this is what you got in Georgia, and it cost Amber Nicole Thurman her life. I'm sorry, Cal, but
Sure.
that
No, it has
I
real
got 2
effects. Look.
daughters, Cal, so this is
Yeah.
personal to me.
Absolutely. I have 3 myself, so I understand you, brother. I stand with you. Stacey was not only the most intelligent uh, governor choice for governor, she had it right, and you're so right. When that election occurred, I would talk to people, regular folks at work. I was doing like a factory job, 40 black men on the job, maybe 5 or 6 were voting, but there was a hard crew that watched Fox News every day. Brothers, like, not very highly
Yep.
educated, and they were like, "What trick would the conspiracy throw to black men? He put it in a chunky, good black woman who's smart, and that's what the trick is." And I would say, I know her,
Jesus
brother,
Christ.
from 17 years old. If I'm telling you, if I can't tell you anything, I can tell you she's the same person that I knew in college 30 years later. In fact, we were in the Rodney King riots together of Atlanta. They talk about the LA riots, but the 1992 riots in Atlanta, Stacy and I were there as freshman students. I went to jail that night. Stacy became the emissary between the school, the AUC community, and the mayor. She spoke to the mayor that night. That was the beginning of her work, and so she's the same person, and she's so anyway. But to see that myth and misinformation takes hold in us so easily, and there's a reason why, Gino. The reason is we do not value sometimes the expertise in our midst, right?
Yes.
We like to, as a social thing, to debate a little bit as men, and that's fine. Let's have fun there. But at some point, we should ground ourselves into data, into empirical knowledge, something that can be empirically proven by all other factors, right? We shouldn't just be out here like Spider-Man weaving theories, because that's what's happening. Every
Swinging
like,
from pole to pole.
yeah, it's exactly. It's like it could be this, it could be this, it could be it, instead of like, bro, the only you take it this way, the only requirement to vote initially is to be 18, because we expect by that time that you've grown up enough to land on the ground and say, "Ooh, I got to work to feed myself, taxes, roads, bridges,
Yes.
police." Schools, army, world events, like this is tax, this is the government, and okay, I get it now. For whatever theory I might dream, I now the bills got to be paid. Kitchen table issues should settle in. That means that you should step up into your power. Like, okay, ready, because you're out of the 8,000 millions that are in the world. This 340 million has the levers on the wall and has the mouthpieces to speak about the way that they live and our livelihood and our government, all that. But if we do not do that, if we believe in a myth, if we sit back and say we don't matter and count ourselves out of it, then we lose. Powerlessness is there because historically we've not had access to the franchise. It's really only since 1965. We don't really realize that there were short times before you and I were born, Gino and Sean, that we had to step off the curb and avert eyes for a child. And to have that backed up by violence,
Yeah.
So, but I say everybody take hope, because when Stokely Carmichael and John Lewis walked along those sharecropping fields and talked to some people kicked them out. Master gonna give me the 5 acres to the north if I work 5 more years. Get
Yeah.
on out of here. Get off my land. I ain't going to that meeting about literacy and learning what a ballot looked like and voting. But some did. And enough did where they drugged the whole race and the whole country forward. Because now that same sharecropper got a job at the mill. He owned his own land, da 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 da. But he kicked him off his property earlier. So the question is, are you going to be a leader, or are you going to be that slug sitting back letting everybody pull for you? You got a certain amount of years to live. We don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, maybe more. God bless us all to get as far as we can. That time isn't enough to stick your chest out and face a rolling world that's already been going on for centuries, the forces that are there. So the way to make the impact and to avert the stone is to hold hands together like a net and lean your shoulder
Yeah.
into it. And we
Yeah.
make that easy. We can get to the app. Of course, I want people to join the app. It's not any cost to it. It's completely free. It's the system again that gets us from point A to point B. What we say is to use 6 powers. We all have them: your votes, your voice, your vision, your values, your investments, and your virtue. Those are power vehicles that,
Love that.
standing still with nothing in my pocket, I have them all. Spend some
Love it.
time with yourself, develop your values and visions, and then put them into actions, because that's what will wake up and go do it. These are all powers. So how we systematize that as a people of all the different levels, and then understand we're living in a swimming pool of mess when it comes to misinformation. We'll watch a movie like They Clone Tyrone and say, man, that could happen. It's in the perm, it's in the chicken. No, bro. 2015 and 2019, there was a whole op performed on us successfully by the Internet Research Agency. The Senate Intelligence Report reads directly in summation that there was no community more penetrated that took on the ideas that the Russians were placing than this community, the Black community. So why can't we have a conversation about that on your show or anyone's show or everybody's show to say, here's the 4 lies, guys, that they told. Now let's look at us and peel that junk out of us.
Yeah.
Let's flush it out and go the opposite way because we were lied to.
Right. And it was
Wouldn't that be
intentional.
logical
Putin knew
conversation?
exactly what he was doing. It was intentional. So I definitely
Absolutely.
want you to take that deep dive. So, but give us an update because the
Sure.
polls are closed. As a matter of fact, what time do the polls close? No, the
So
polls close in Georgia at 7, right?
it's 7 o'clock.
I think
Yeah,
in
they closed it.
Pennsylvania they close at 8. A lot of polls are closing at 8 in about 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
So what are you seeing? What have you seen? And what does it look like just
Yeah.
off first
It's
glance
it,
from what you
it
the
it's still
energy
it's still
and some of the early numbers because you talked about some early numbers a few minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I haven't checked since we've been talking a bit, but just about 10 minutes ago, some of the early Clayton County numbers were coming in, which is a county south of Atlanta.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
those on.
a
I saw them
large,
on TV. Yeah,
exactly. But they were really small reporting. It was only like 3% or
yeah,
something like that.
right.
I'm sure it's progressed a bit. As far as the energy, though, it's been interesting, right? Because we had a couple. I don't want to push this more than it is. But we had a couple stupid Russian calls into 2 precincts that said bomb threats. They had to close down
Really?
for 30
Oh
minutes.
wow.
Yes, that was this morning, and then some more in the evening came. And these mayors were standing up saying, "Look, we are people that have been through it. We know how these people are and bluff. And that is the kind of spirit you guys need to understand. Like if we've been here decades, we should have some intel that we carry with us into 2024 and 25, right? And there is intel. You just have to get the right people given the intel. So anyway,
So
in the
so
in the results,
So let
mhm,
me ask you this. Let me just jump in because kind of
sure,
piggyback on what I'm hearing. I want to find out because I know that these numbers are still preliminary, and I know you pulling
right,
them up. But from what you've seen with the level of knowledge and expertise and wisdom that you have, my brother,
hmm hmm
would you say that the energy that you've seen, especially among us in the culture, and not just us, but even maybe some Republicans who maybe even voted for on this show,
sure,
I refer to them as Orange Hitler, uh,
mhm,
who are like, well, you know what? I ain't really down with this dictatorship, or I'm a woman and I got daughters and granddaughters that have less freedom up. I have more freedoms and control over my own body autonomy than
that's
my
right,
daughters or granddaughters. And I know that's
that's right,
for even some older white women
hmm
who voted for Orange Hitler.
jarring,
That was a bridge too far because they're voting.
yeah,
Because I've been saying uh, when you vote for Vice President Harris, and I'm
sure,
unapologetically on this show, 10 toes
hmm
down with President-elect Kamala Harris. But she's
indeed,
just a vessel, Cal. When
hmm
you are voting for your freedom as opposed to your oppression, you're voting for the freedom of your family. You're voting for the reproductive freedom of your daughters and your sisters and your wives and your
that's right,
granddaughters and maybe your mom or your aunts or whatever.
that's right.
But is the energy that you see, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
culture, does it match what you saw in 2008 with Barack? Or does it even match what you saw 4 years ago with President
Sure,
Biden?
with
Or is
Biden.
it more?
So good question and good launch pad. Um, I absolutely it matches more of the 2008 energy. I
Really?
knew when, yes, look, that's the first thing I said when the announcement came that Joe Biden was stepping aside and that Vice President Harris was to step in. I said, oh my gosh, it's going to be a landslide election for the Democrats. I'm not going to tell anybody
Wow.
because that will demotivate some from going because they're
Yes.
going to like, she got it
Smart.
in the
Thank
bag.
thank you for
So
doing that.
yes, so I kept it a secret. I only told people who I knew would vote, like my family or my daughters, and such. So, but absolutely, guys, I expect tonight for this to be a landslide election in both the popular vote and the electoral college. And then I expect Republicans to issue every kind of fight that they can. In fact, the job on December 11th and the whole 12th Amendment issue is a concern that this current House, Mike Johnson, still has a hand in the interim period, the certification period before January, February timeframe when the actual inauguration occurs. So there's some concerns there. But yes, I think it's going to be open up a can of whoop ass tonight, bro.
So I just
Somebody going to get
saw
knocked the
some projections on
out.
NBC from NBC News. Florida is being projected for Orange Hitler. Missouri, no surprise there. Alabama, no surprise there. Massachusetts was called for President-elect, soon to be Kamala Harris. Florida was called for Orange Hitler, even though some people thought that they may have a chance because they had a like what they call an amendment where the public
The
could vote
abortion.
on it in terms of
Mm-hmm.
protecting abortion rights in the
Mm-hmm.
state constitution of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, New Jersey, too early to call. I'm just looking at it and see
Mm-hmm.
if they got some stuff. Connecticut, too early to call. So, what are you
Mm-hmm.
seeing there in Georgia?
Well, uh, I saw just some Fulton County numbers a minute ago, and it had, at least at this small reporting time, it looked to be a 4% spread in uh, Trump's direction. He last time got like 28% or 26%. He was at like 28%, but I'm not sure what the percentage of reporting that was. That's still a very early number.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, from turnout models, because there in Georgia in 2020, man, you all had to do it like 3 times. It's because you did
That's right.
on election day, and then
Yes.
they were playing games, so you had the 2 runoffs with
Mm-hmm.
Senator Warnock and Ossoff, and
Herschel.
every
Yeah.
time, man, the brothers y'all stood up and showed out.
We had to push.
Yeah.
Yes, we had to
Yeah.
push, and it's still a push, man. I the phrase is to vote, 6 cycles at all 3 levels before you start to complain. It doesn't take much to do so. One vote is, trying to turn a big ship in one vote. It doesn't happen like that. Maturity should tell us that, right? So we stay engaged. We develop our own accountability structures to make sure that our interests are considered and talked about. I told one brother, look, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yeah.
You know what he
Yeah.
told me? Yeah, he told me, man, now isn't this just like some of us? I love all our brothers, but some of us, this is the response. I want to be on the menu. See, I want to be on the menu.
Wouldn't you
Why do
rather
you
be
want
the
to be on the menu?
chef and the owner of the restaurant than
Exactly.
being on the damn menu?
Right. And then he gave me the bulletproof stuff like, well, I know the difference between me and you, because what you gonna do when the feds come to your door? I said, bro, we all gonna do the same thing when the feds come to your door. What are you talking about? Why why is this bulletproofness stuck in our head? And I think that comes from escapism. Part of our core way of dealing with pain and dealing with trauma
Yeah.
is to create and escape. And so sometimes we build those shadow stairs in front of us that don't really exist. And so it takes somebody, a leader who's respected, a set of leaders who respected, who can, uh, give reasonable communication. Brothers like yourself, brothers like Roland Martin, what a prize it is to have black men, intelligent black men, family men speaking and inputting into the conversation when the national narrative is sickened and the information is sickened, right? So this is an important function, and it ought to keep continuing even when the times get hard.
Hey, listen, I got it. So 34% in is Trump is at 55%, Harris is at 43. But I'm looking at
Hmm.
that map. I see Fulton County is not in. And if Steve Kornacki would move his ass, Augusta looks like those votes are in. I don't know how many, but I see that there's still a big hole right there. Fulton County looks like it's not in. It's still in. Not it's gray, and then there's another county just south. So I know that.
Probably Clayton.
So Fulton County, what percent
Hmm.
of in terms of population or voters,
Hmm.
what percent of the actual voters are right there in Fulton County? It's pretty significant. Is it
Sure.
is it 40%, or is that just that area? Is that like 40% of the entire voting population of the state of Georgia?
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't have that data. I don't know that exact
Fulton
number,
County.
but I do
Okay,
know.
so they got some
Yeah.
votes. So here, what? Tell me what you think about this number. So,
Okay.
so Harris is so Biden has 72.6, 53%. Kamala Harris is 71.1. Like you said, Trump was 26.2, 28.1.
Yep.
So,
So this is what's called the red mirage.
mhm,
It always happens,
right.
in the beginning when the votes are counted. This is part of
And that's in Fulton.
his.
Now that's Fulton County,
Yep,
but it's you still that's so you got about half in. So there's still a lot more. So we don't even know what part of Fulton County,
statewide.
even though she still got a huge lead
Hmm.
there. Clayton County, 70% in. I don't know, 85%
Hmm.
Harris, 14%. So she's better by a little bit, but real about the same.
Hmm.
Biden had 84.9, so 80. So she's
Hmm.
about at the same number. Gwinnett County is pulling up. Harris 54.8. Um, let's see, Gwinnett County 51.9. Uh, Fayette County, Trump 55, Harris 48.5. Now Trump is down in 2020. He had 52.7, so he's down 2 points, and
Huh.
Kamala Harris is up 3 points from 2020 in Fayette County. So what
Wow.
what are some of the suburbs and towns in Fayette County?
So Fayette County is another mixed area, but it's been a growing black area. It also fans below the airport. So folks that might have lived in College Park or live near the airport, they fan out
Okay,
to Fayette County. Yep.
okay,
So those are all good metro counties that you expect her to perform strong in. If you win the suburbs around Atlanta, you're gonna win Georgia. That's
yeah,
that's the whole target, is to get those suburban voters in, because then the whole metro area, the MSA here, the metropolitan statistical area, becomes, a real weight, in the Democratic slot
yeah.
against the outer regional counties that are less populated. But to also see numbers from Albany, from Macon, from Augusta and Savannah come
Yes.
in, those areas are equally as important. Wins there, really secure, have kept Georgia blue. So it's a full state approach. Um, I never so much, worry so much about losing a giant chunk of people to Republican voters, to the Republican side. I was more concerned about people staying home,
Okay.
because
Okay.
that tended to be, the most effective is the couch, right? The couch wins in
Yeah.
you know,
Well, but
um,
in 2020, there was like roughly 100 million people that didn't vote, who were
that's right.
eligible to vote.
Sure. Sure. And there are 35 million eligible black voters today. And in general, 22 million do not vote. Only 13.5 million vote. Now,
Yeah.
I expect that number to come in larger this year and maybe take the average up. But still, the 22 million, come on, y'all.
Yeah, we got to do
Um,
better
you
than
know,
that.
yeah, yep, yep. It's just like anything else. You carry a license, you file for taxes, you pay taxes out of your check. This is the way we get to do it in this country. And having been around the world, if you've ever tried to travel internationally, one thing you know for sure is that you rather be here fighting the fight against oppression than in many other places of the world where they do not
Yes.
have paths of redress. They do not have concern about your rights and your human rights. Here, you can raise a stink, you can go out and speak against the beloved leader still and have evidence and prove your case, or somewhat, you know what I'm saying? You have a fighting chance. There's a lot of benefit to being here. So,
So while it's still early enough to
uh-huh.
where these numbers are, and you still got, of course, Fulton County, because Georgia statewide is only, uh, I think that's what 30 is it 34% in. So tell us, give us the bar. I call it the barbershop and beauty
Uh-huh.
salon version of your app, and
Okay.
how it will benefit just us as a culture and as a community.
Absolutely. Is there any way to share anything can I
If you
share screen a
can,
bit?
you have my permission
So all
to.
you have to do is touch the arrow next to share screen and click where it says multiple participants can
Uh,
share. Yeah, on the bottom bar near share screen, there's an arrow to the right of that word.
what am I looking for?
You're looking to share the screen. So you see share screen on the bottom?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
is a
green arrow.
arrow. Yeah, so to the right there was a little arrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, open that and click where it says multiple participants
Okay.
can.
Boom. There we go.
You got it?
I just clicked it.
Excellent. Now I can share. Okay. Excuse me, bit of a cough. Okay, so I am going to show you guys the beta version. Let me give you one disclaimer. Can you see this now?
Yep.
Okay, one disclaimer is that the grades that are in here, the heart of the system grades all candidates, officials, and corporations by a rubric of 10 Black Progress goals. Okay, so imagine a report card where you get to match your elected official against these 10 goals: improving education, reparative justice, economic development, media reform, healthcare parity, voting rights, constitutional reforms, crime and community safety, law enforcement reforms, environmental justice. Okay, this is not, by the way, open yet to the public. My developers are in there. There's still one or two bugs that we're working out, but it'll go into what exactly across this platform of concerns. What exactly are we talking about when we say reparative justice, right? And later you could kind of look into what those 10 things are. I also explain what a grade is. What's an A, right? Consistent leadership and advocacy, right? Multiple verified relationships, right? A real rubric, right? I'm not playing. I'm a teacher, right? And I was a teacher for years, and so grading and managing this amount of information is completely not foreign to me. So making evaluations and making literary analysis. So yes, I would invite you to learn about the 10 things, because what this is, in addition to a report card, this is a platform for movement across all of these issues. And if you were to dig into each of them, you would find amazing things like home and land ownership, business investment, right? We are going to check and see, does that elected official who has power over your money and tax money, do they show up in your behalf?
So
So
let me
anyway,
so let me
first,
let me ask you. Let
mhm,
me let me see if I can break it down even further, because I know
uh-huh,
on the like the MAGA cult, and you've got like the NRA,
uh-huh,
to where they have
sure,
systems where they grade politicians in terms
uh-huh,
of how they vote, and do
yes,
these politicians vote with the MAGA
their interest,
mentality or the whole nine
yes.
yards. So is this basically a report
It,
card, and this app will be where the public can look at
yes,
the grades, or how their elected
that's exactly
officials
right.
are voting to protect
Yes.
and to or to strengthen the issues like you had on screen in terms of just justice and the other issues.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
is that a pretty
That
good
that
way to
that's
break it down, explain it?
that's the heart of it. That's the heart of it. Meaning that's what the name of the app is. CEO. Check them out. And that gets to exactly what you just said. We are inviting you to check them out. CEO. All right. So at the heart of that is the power of evaluating and getting a grade across issues of our concern. Right. There's no other source. That there are voting guides. There's grading reports. There's different places you go, but none are directed toward a black platform, a black progress platform, by a credible set of people backing it. Right. So
Hmm.
at the heart of this system is grading by our HBCU students. We
Ah,
just like a report card comes out 4 times a year. Our
yes.
students grade 4 times a year, and because college students are from all parts of the United States, we sign them to their regions. We've got a research schema to where they input the data. We're also roping in the young people at that time, right? We're making the young people researchers the leaders of Black intel and social political advance, the plan,
I
the
love it.
strategy, right? The heart of it is grading, but what we want to do is activate all these 6 vehicles of your power. Those that I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
That's the heart of CEO. So as I click into Kamala Harris, now understand, very big disclaimer: these are not the right grades. This is why I'm not sharing the address tonight. My developers have put the grades there, but they are not in the right slots and they're not the right grade. So I don't.
Gotcha.
This is why I won't put it out. Everything else is enough for me to put out a beta, but they're working in it right now, trying to align it right. So do not, take that.
Yeah, these are
I
not the
didn't.
real grades of
No,
the names you see. They're just putting
no.
it together. I got you.
The sequence of the grades here is off, and then the number. So those are not her grades. But I want to tell you, I want to warn you, because it's a 10-point grading platform. It's not a milk toast platform. This is not my decisions. If you have not operated in that lane and made real impact for Black progress in that one lane, you may not figure well in the grade, and that's okay. Because if everyone had A's, you would say, well, why are Black people suffering?
Yeah,
Why are
good
Black
point.
people without?
Hey,
Right?
Cal, let
Let's
me
just
jump in here. Hold that thought. Let me jump
sure.
in here. I'm looking at the screen. So I think this is a good tell. Now, with only 9% of the votes in North Carolina, NBC is calling the race for Josh Stein to win the
Good,
Democratic candidate to be the governor of North Carolina. So I
good.
think I think that's a good sign, and I'm sure Orange Hitler and the folks down in Mar-a-Lago are sweating Diet Coke, and
You
French
know how bad
fries.
that character in North Carolina was, in Mark
Yeah,
Robinson.
yeah,
Versus Josh Stein.
he was a clown, but
Yes, sir.
I think that's a good sign, because the early tally showed President-elect Kamala Harris was leading in North Carolina. But I think
Hmm.
that's a tell, and I think none else.
Yep.
I think Josh Stein, because the ground game with the Harris campaign, man, they were really. I saw live shots from like the HBCUs there in North Carolina. They really hit the colleges hard, and they were out. Them young
Yes.
people were out. So I think that's a good. I think that's a
You're
good
so
sign.
right.
Yeah.
You're so right, man. Gino, they did a good job, didn't they? I mean, we saw it, gentlemen. They did an effective job in these months of getting out to our community, to our young people, modifying the message, making it more relevant. I really saw a transformation. The Democrats were not doing that. They weren't at all. And there's still a problem, right, with them spending with black media sources to get their word out. But more of that happened than has happened before. So it's
That's
right
a
to give a
whole
shout
different.
out.
Trust me, that's a whole different kind. I ain't gonna hold it against y'all because y'all didn't do a media buy. Because
Right.
initially it was the Biden campaign I had a contact with. But I got love because basically the same people stayed on the team. So, and I was really dealing with the communication team, Michael Tyler especially,
Mm,
and the Julia, his assistant, I believe
yeah.
Hamelberg. So Michael Tyler's been doing a great job. He's the head of
You
our
know what's crazy?
communications. The brothers
Gino, like,
doing a great job.
it's crazy, and I say this with the utmost of humility. I've been able to throughout my life to be proximate to some really accomplished people, really coming from my Morehouse and Spelman class of '95. The other '95 graduate who is a part of the campaign is Cedric Richmond, right?
Oh yeah.
He was a Louisiana representative. He's running the campaign with Kamala. He's kind of her her specialist for her media and all that, and he did so in the Biden campaign as well. So I am hoping that I can reach, and I haven't talked to Stacy in years. Like if I knew her, I guess I think you guys would know about this app. I've been in the lab under the bushel creating this thing and building it to a certain level. I created one myself that I coded so when she ran for office, and it was simpler than this. For this one, I hired a group of people. The last point on it is it grades companies. So consider that it grades bodies like the NRA, government departments, right? And it geolocates when you walk into that store to ask you, do you want to see the report card real quick before you go spend your money? And if you don't like something, here's the other magic of it. The contact strategy goes right to text, email, and calling of all of these entities. So think about it. Every candidate, every official, and corporations get a contact strategy
So
with
that's
canned
cool. So it's
comments.
not just politicians; it's
Right.
corporations too. That is
Yes.
huge.
Yes. Yes.
That might be even
Yes.
bigger than the
Yes.
politicians. Well,
Yes.
equally big in different ways. But I mean,
Yes.
that's huge.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's about where our power and where our money goes. And if we spend money with you, you draw our eyes there, we're gonna put a flashlight on you and you're gonna be
I
accountable
love it.
and transparent.
I love
Uh,
it.
that is the heart of it. That is all of it, man. That's why it's called Check Them Out. It's Check Them Out app for Black Progress. If you, I need to give you the address. It doesn't cost anything. It will never cost anything. I've presented it before the Association for the Study of African Life and History. We had our annual meeting in Jacksonville. Presented it to Black Voters Matter, to Cliff. I wanted them to partner and back it. I still want them to. I'm looking for all organizations. We're missable with everybody. This is not to supplant anybody. This is to put all your programming into the palm of all users. And I'll make this last point. Imagine, Gino, if you got 20,000, 30,000 users across local and national areas, and you're addressing issues locally and nationally, but you're calling in the communication of a body of 40,000 users. You don't deal in any misinformation. You can't put bots and cyborgs into my app, right?
So
So
let me give you a quick update.
yeah,
50, 70, well, no, that's just one county. So now I thought that was statewide, so I'll hold off. Now, statewide is only 9% of the vote in, but Vice President, President-elect Harris is up 50, I think 51%. So
yeah,
let's go back,
absolutely.
bring everybody back on camera,
Okay.
because
All right.
part of the Geno Jones Show family has joined us
Mm-hmm.
down there in Houston, Texas, Harris County, hoping that brother Colin Allred can send Raphael's ass back to Cancun somewhere permanently. She's author, everything. Trinace Carter. Hello, T. How are you?
Hey, hey, how's everybody?
We're doing great. So you're on with Cal, brother Cal Burlock. He is the CEO of a company named Driven Systems, but he was just talking about an app that. So Cal, if 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 everything goes the way you hope and plan, when will the app be available for the public
Sure.
to download on their phones and tablets?
In the next couple days. It
Really?
won't be, yeah, it won't be in
Wow.
the Droid or the Apple Store yet. It takes about 4 weeks to get clearance, but then
Okay.
it'll be there. So I'll be sharing it on a link at through my IG, which is Black Men Goals. And our YouTube channel. I'll be putting out the link. It'll be marketing coming out, blasting off really in the vein of what do you plan to do now after the election,
So
right?
around December
Because
1st, you should be able to go to because I've got a Gal
yeah,
Android, so go to the Play
yeah,
Store, go to the Apple Store, and
absolutely.
download it.
Or
And what's the
and
name?
before that, there'll
Check
be
them
a
out.
link.
It's called Check them
Yeah,
out, right?
check them out.
So
CEO,
so
check them out.
so uh, Tracy, the cool thing about this app, they are grading um, not just politicians, but corporations in terms of, are they, when it comes to social justice, economic justice. Am I right, Cal? Things
Yes,
like that,
exactly.
being receptive,
Exactly.
I guess, inclusive in terms of their hiring practices, and do they
Absolutely.
support nonprofits, black-owned nonprofits, and
Exactly.
putting some money back into the community, and their
Yes.
hiring practices, and promoting, African Americans and other people of color. So how did I do
Absolutely.
describing that?
You did an excellent job. And just to speak about a common experience, we all walked into the ballot and knew the top name or two and did not know those names below. But we voted D up down the ballot like we should this year. That's clear. But what did you really know about those folks? And what power did you really have? So I know people got a lot of pent up energy. They just swiped. Well, I'm asking you to keep swiping a little bit, you know, a little bit to be informed and ready for the next election. And
I
then we
love it.
move in like a unit. They're
So
gonna look left, and we're gonna silently have a whole unit.
I love it. So
Real
Trinace, what's
talk.
happening in Texas? What are you seeing? What's the buzz? Does the brother Colin Allred, in your opinion, do you think he's got a chance to pull it out? I know Texas is, and the bad thing about
So,
Texas, we talked about it, Cal, and I talked about it early, Trinace. I mean, the numbers between the brothers, our brothers and our Latino brothers and sisters, they are the majority of the population in Texas, but they've jerry rigged it, and with the state legislator, and I call him Governor Hot Wheels, Governor Greg Abbott, aka Governor Hot Wheels. I know I'm wrong for that, but his ass is so racist and misogynist and sexist. God had to forgive me for that, but I ain't apologizing. So Trinace, what does it look like? You think Colin Allred has got a chance to win?
so a lot of things. So first of all, Harris County, the county that I live in, is the largest county in the state of Texas. Harris County is a Democratic county. Unfortunately, although we have over a million people in population,
Wow.
over a million people in population, just based on vehicle registration, which is, where I used to work for the county. That's a lot of people. Um, Texas altogether is a Republican state. Everybody calls them Hot Wheels, so you don't have
Oh,
to
I'm not the
feel.
only. I didn't know that. I didn't know anybody. I never heard it. I just kind of gave him that nickname. He pissed
Yes.
me off one day. I was like, "Yo, ass, Governor Hot Wheels."
So this morning, I guess Texas is one of those states that counts the early ballots. They start counting them early.
Okay.
Um, they may have started counting any absentee ballots because some states count them early
Yes.
when they get them. Some states count them after they've counted the regular vote. So it looks like Texas is one of those states that counts in advance. This morning, as I left at 6:45, 6:50 this morning, it was saying that Cruz is winning one of the counties along the border. Now, when you consider how big the border is, for you to be winning only one border, one county along the border, that doesn't really sound very good for you
No.
early in the morning. So I've been kind of trying to watch. They haven't really been given a whole lot. It's just a lot of predictions. We're predicting this is going to happen or this could happen. So nobody can really say what is actually happening. Um,
So see, Tracy, what time, what time do the polls close in Texas? Are they closed already? It's
they're
seven twenty
closed.
six.
They close at 7 o'clock. But when I came through the door, because I leave the TV on for the dog, and he was stuck watching politics today. When I came in, they were showing Fort Bend County still had a long line.
Okay.
So as long as you're in line, they are going to let you vote.
Okay.
I don't know what the stipulations are. Do they have someone waiting to see, watching who is just coming up? I don't know about that,
I
but
think. Well, it's funny you say that. I know a lot of states they'll usually whoever's with like the board of elections that are running the elections, they'll usually have a person that let's say at 8 o'clock that will probably stand right behind that last person in line,
yeah.
or either put like maybe a sign or something out there to say that you know voting is the line is closed. But if you're in line before, like you said, so 7:27, so you got another 33 minutes in Texas. So if you are in line by 8 o'clock Central Time, Houston time, you will be allowed to vote, and it's like that virtually nationwide. So
So I did see, while I was supposed to be working at my good government state job, because I now work for the state, um, I did see where Pennsylvania, one of the smaller counties, was having an issue with the voting machines.
okay,
There was an issue with after they voted, the machine that does the scanning of the votes, they that system with the software, there was a software issue, and I'm going to use air quotes, a software issue. So they're extending the vote until 10 o'clock.
okay. Oh, really? Well, thanks for that, because I didn't even because I have a TV on, but I can't. I need to move it up here. Next, so now I know after this election, I need to put this monitor up here, but that's a whole different story because I have to kind
Well,
of look
that
over.
was like early. That was early this morning. That was before 10 o'clock.
Okay, but that's in Pennsylvania. So,
And it was one
Cal,
of the smaller counties. It wasn't a larger one. It was a smaller
smaller.
one.
Okay.
And then after that happened, of course, he who shall not be named said, "This is all rigged."
Well,
So if it's all rigged, and right now,
yeah, he gonna say that anyway.
you're looking like you're winning because right now they're counting the southern states. Right now, based on the count of the southern states, you look like you're winning. I'm believing that Kamala is going to put it on him.
So I just walked away. So I'm looking in Florida. There's an amendment for right to abortion. Yes is 57%, even though they've already called Florida for Orange Hitler. So that's going to be interesting. So I know Governor Death Wishes, I call him Governor Ron Dumbass, will not be happy about that. Brother Cal, because Sean is back with us, do you have you got any intel info from us from Georgia? Any update?
I'm not sure. Well, I was just going to say, I'm not sure if they called Florida or they just said he was the
Well,
projected winner.
NBC did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they called.
Oh, they did.
Okay.
Because I know that the projected winners, like
Yeah,
Maryland is
they were
projected.
projecting he would be the winner. So basically,
Yeah, and Maryland is projected the Democratic winner as well, but 0% is in. So,
yeah.
But they feel those are pretty safe.
So
in Georgia,
Trinace, what has been the turnout, especially two things, because you're there in Harris County, so that's like the main concentration of black people, and you got some in Dallas too. But now, and I know because Hispanics are not monolithic, and I don't know what the Puerto Rican population. I think in Houston, probably the dominant.
It's mostly Mexican here.
That's what I thought.
It's
So
mostly-
what was their reaction? Because first of all, dude already said 4 years ago coming down the escalator that Mexicans were rapists and drug dealers. But were they bothered at all by what Orange Hitler's comedian said about Puerto Rico, the island, calling it trash?
So I don't know that they were, but I know a guy said something to me about voting. And I try not to say nothing because, my personality.
Well, hey, full disclosure, real quick, Trinace. So, me, Sean is he is my legal expert and political contributor. So you all share a common bond. So Sean, Trinace, I call her friends call her Tracy. She's from Maywood. She's down in Houston now.
Well, it's actually all three of us. Cal is from Maywood.
Is he? Okay, I
His
didn't know that.
Yeah.
grandparents
It-
are some early Maywoodians, along with my grandparents. So, welcome, sister.
I thought she looked familiar. I was like, man, I've seen her before. That's crazy. Okay.
So, I
Wow.
mean, with my personality, I try not to say much of anything.
So what Tracy's saying, she's
He
being
he
nice.
did say there
She
will.
has too much Fred Hampton in her. That's
Yeah.
what it
So
is.
what Tracy really is trying to say that, and I can't, Sean, maybe you can help me, or Cal, the brother that's the DA in Philly, who basically told like the white nationalists and the militias, now listen, y'all can f around and find out if you want to. Trinace has got that energy. Yes, she got.
So a guy did say that he was like, "Yeah, I voted for Kamala." I say no. I appreciate that because we can't have another 4 years of The Apprentice live because that's what that was. Every day he was firing somebody. Every day there was some news flash. Every day the fact that he fired the announcer for the inauguration. That that was I don't know.
I
I
didn't know
just
that, Trace. That's
I,
funny. Apprentice Live. I'm gonna have to use that. You can invoice me for that joke. That's funny. I didn't like that. Apprentice Live.
I have an update on some of the Senate races
What you
if
got?
you want to know. All right, so Florida right now, 90% of the folks reporting without me knowing where these numbers are coming from. Scott Skeletor is up 55.6 to what did I have here? He's beating the Democrat Debbie Powell
Mercosale.
55
Okay, yeah.
to 42. So that pretty much looks like it could be them holding on to that seat. Larry Hogan, even though it's less than 1%, and I wouldn't take this. Larry Hogan is a Republican that was the governor of Maryland.
Right.
He was pretty popular governor. Right now, with less than 1%, he leads in Maryland. He's also up against Angela Brooks. So what I would watch in this race, which I think she's projected to win, is the numbers coming out of Baltimore, the numbers coming out of Bowie, the numbers coming out of Annapolis, and the numbers down there towards the edge, closing in on Virginia, and around DC. So that one's way too early to call. And
Well, a lot of people feel
other
that she's
race,
got a chance to win, a good chance to win.
that's what
yes,
I was seeing today. That a lot of people felt like she had a good chance to win, although the Hulk guy was a well known name. So
Your
we'll
hope.
see.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not gonna hurt my feelings. I think I'm gonna do it, not even watch it. After this, I'm going to turn on one of those anime cartoons that I like and just go on to
wait a minute, you like anime? Which one do you like?
I watched a couple of different.
See,
I
I'm
watched.
into Bleach. Bleach is the dopest out of
That's
all
correct.
the anime. That
Yeah,
is dope. And
yeah.
from what I understand, there will be a new manga slash season after this one. They said this was going to be the last one with the 1,000 Year Blood War. Sorry, this is between two anime, and it's hard to find other black people that admittedly like anime.
I'm
So
like,
anyway,
Blood War?
they're getting ready to come. They're getting ready to come with another new Bleach. So that's going to be awesome. And they say they're going to do a live action, another second live action.
Well, I got
Okay.
if my nephew was here, Nino is big, so he would know.
Should
He would.
my 13-year-old daughter is into it. Should I be concerned, Felix?
Yeah.
No. I think it's good because a lot more younger kids. I remember when I was into it in the '80s. That's when I got first introduced to it because I had a relative that was stationed in Germany, and I loved comic books. And excuse me, they were stationed in Japan, and they sent me some Japanese. They don't call them comic books; they call them mangas,
Mm-hmm.
and they are awesome. And so I was reading about Tiger Ball Z before they even put it on TV, you know.
Wow.
And then we copy a lot of stuff that is really anime that becomes Americanized, like G Force. We all remember G Force. That
Yep.
is actually a Japanese manga. That's not an
Wow. Really?
Americanized. What it is the toy companies, Hasbro, saw that they could make money out of this Transformer type toy. And so they created the cartoon to advertise to kids. We're talking about the election, but
Right.
I'm
It's
telling you,
okay.
All right.
it's
I
really,
do want
really
to make
deep.
one
Wait.
point
So
that
so
we've all.
let
Oh,
me let me give
when
you
you
an
give me a
important
chance.
let me give you an important update. Black Woman Magic. So basically, the networks are calling NBC is the sister that is running for the U.S. Senate seat in Delaware, Blunt
Mm.
something. Uh,
Mm,
they are projecting she's going to win that Senate seat.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. Her name is Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
She worked for the senator, former senator, who also worked for Senator Biden, President Biden, when he was senator. So this seat in
Mm,
Delaware tends to be handed down to the person that works for the senator. And so that's
I
cool
see.
because now we have another black woman in the Senate.
Yes, in the
And I
U.S.
think
Experience.
Senate.
at the
That's
end of the
big.
night,
Yeah.
we could have three black women in the Senate, if I remember
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There was a possibility of five. So it looks like the sister that's running in Florida is going to lose to Rick Scott,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
He's
She,
a
I
terrible
think she was a
senator.
Mm.
Cuban, Latino sister,
Debbie
Cuban.
McCurson.
She's,
Yeah.
or is she from? Did she say Cuba or maybe Colombia?
She's
Colombia.
she's like Afro Cuban. So she's a woman of color. There are a
Mhm.
few seats that are with women of color that we may pick up when we start heading west. But
Let me
um,
give you a comparison number real quick. 18% Philadelphia County. So I don't know, is that the city of
mhm.
Philly? But anyway, uh, in 2020, Biden had 81.4% of that vote, even though it's only 18%. Kamala Harris has 87.2, and Trump went from 17.9 to 11.6. That's in Philadelphia County, in Philly. So
So it seems like I want to point this out, and if you don't mind, it
no,
seems like in the red states more than ever they're hurrying up. The solidly red states for Trump are hurrying up with this red wave of putting out winning states, to create the illusion
yes,
that Trump
It.
is ahead in this.
right,
And
Yes.
when
Yes.
Vice President Harris catches him and passes him, then there's some shady type
Yes.
operation.
The,
But we need
the
to make
plan to
sure
call it
that
fraud.
those of
Right.
us in the media that are on these platforms right now are saying that, because that will become the story.
well, you
Yeah.
know, that happened in
Absolutely. Well, that's been the
2020.
plan.
Let
Yep.
me see. Uh,
Yeah, that happened in
Cal,
2020. That was the plan.
is it so? Cal, is it you? Is your daughter Mylan?
Milan.
Milan. Oh, she's
Yes.
watching. Thank you, Milan. She
Oh,
said,
really?
"Congrats, Dad."
Oh, hey, baby.
She
Hey,
watching
baby.
her daddy. I love it.
Wow. I didn't even know she was on there, but
Allie's in the
uh,
room with Damaris and my daughter Boogie in Portland. She's still
aw.
working. So
Well, I just saw some results in Gwinnett County, which is the largest county in the metro.
is that it
Um,
really is
it,
it larger than Fulton County now?
they have the largest school system out there. We got 140 schools in Gwinnett.
Wow.
Um, it's giant. But they're 60% to 38% for Kamala Harris right now. Only 16% is in. They showed the state at 53% in, and it was like 11-point spread. Again, part of that red mirage, that
Right.
early, vote that's coming in from those Trump
It
counties that
was
are
like that
smaller
with Biden, which is that's
every
what set him
time,
off.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, every time. And the whole plan, even prior to the last election, and he said it before prior to this election, was to say it was cheating going on when that red mirage showed up. But it's expected every year. So, we don't have to worry about that. We know that that's going to be. One of the points I wanted to make though is that we're in a special moment. All of us have alluded to it when we talk about the misinformation that's out there and getting truth across to people. In a sense, you're tugging at your logic is saying, why is it even this close? With the obvious
Mhm.
things about this man, why is it even this close? Well, we got to look at the pillars of that. And the pillars of American social politics changed in 2010. In 2010, 2007, $5 million was spent on political ads. All right. After the law changed in 2010, it jumped to 300 million.
And Cal, tell them about what law they changed.
Okay.
Explain that
The
law
law
to
that
everybody.
Absolutely. So the Citizens United case was decided at the Supreme Court level by Justices Alito, Thomas, Kennedy wrote the opinion, Roberts was in there, right? These conservative justices, they gave corporations personhood and bequeathed upon them the rights that an individual has protected in the First Amendment. So the right to free speech, the right to privacy got put onto a corporation, which is not an individual, y'all. It's a moneyed group of well-moneyed individuals,
Right.
has now the rights of a
Right.
person.
They said
So
the
I don't have to tell
corporations
you.
corporations are people too. That was the famous
Yes,
quote.
exactly. And so now they don't have to tell you how much was given, and they don't have to tell you who gave it. It used to be I had to say I'm John Doe, $5,000. I've given my max for the election. That's it. So in that one decision, they turned over 100 years of all of American history. Okay, so understand that first. That's why we're in the media. All of us grew up in environments where it was not ads all the time. Now it's ads on top of ads on top of ads, all this stuff. This is why, because now you got a big plug of money that just came. But I haven't finished the story. 2010, it was 300 million after the law. 2022, it went to 10 billion, which is 10,000 millions, y'all. So 5 to 300 to 10,000 of those millions. This year, 20,000 millions. From 5 million to 20 billion dollars is what is spent this year just on political ads.
$20
Okay?
billion.
Yes. Never in the history of the United States have we plugged this big load of money into directly into media markets. The only rule they gave them is that they could not share information. So you hear about all these PACs. They're listed legally on their state filing as social welfare organizations. They can take as much money, foreign money, enemies of the United States money is playing now in our left. That's routine now, y'all. And The Rock tried to come out and say, I'm not going to take PAC money. But he fucked around and found out, pardon my French, that a group that has some money and just flood a market with fear, uncertainty, and doubt will beat a good cabinet every time because we are human people. And critical thinking is not as common as we think it is sometimes. I'm a
Unfortunately.
teacher, and we know out of class of 25, 5 to 8 are super sharp, 5 to 8 questionable. These middlers, we working with them. But critical thinking, these people grow up and they're easily led astray. So understand that now we got a cable dominated market and an internet market that's got way too much money to play in it. So we got to unplug that. That's one pillar that must fall if we're going to get our government back, or we're going to keep getting candidates like movements and populists who can just raise money. Here's the other point, if I can make one more point.
Well, you can, before you save that point first, go back.
Yep, for later.
I want you, no, no,
Yep.
no, no, no. Go back to where you were. No, go back to the
Okay.
money. Go back to the money.
All right.
And then go to your next point. But this is important for people watching who, are not into this like we are. Um,
Sure.
how can somebody that's watching that really is not immersed in
Sure.
politics, but this money affects, like you said, because we get bombarded with these images. So how can we take the money? How can the regular, average, everyday citizen take the money out of it after the Supreme Court is greenlit
Yes. Okay.
corporations?
Excellent
How do you
question.
reverse it?
Thank you for that question, because that's the part that needs to be said. How do we as the people touch this? We vote in the right policymakers and then go to those policymakers and say the Supreme Court needs an ethics code and the Supreme Court needs more justices, because we've had a plot to
Expand the
place a
court.
conservative. Exactly. You have to expand the court. And I believe that Joe Biden was going to do that in his second term, and I think that she should do it in her first.
Yeah, I'm with
Right? It's perfectly legal. It's perfectly smart to do it when you see that a 40-year group has taken hold with an agenda. After complaining about activist judges, they were the active
you.
judges.
Right.
But we knew this the whole time.
And there was a time to where the Supreme Court had more than 9 and less than 9. So there's
Yes,
nothing in the
absolutely.
Constitution that says it can only be
Yes.
9.
Sure. That we need support. We need real reforms at the level. There's another thing people don't know. To get to the Supreme Court, there's only a set group of law firms called the Supreme Court Bar that even argues cases to the Supreme Court. So there's a strainer right there. You can't even get there. A normal man, you have to have a certain level of money or have your teeth clenched into a certain issue that they're interested in. That's the only way you get there. So it's problematic. So you have to have people knowing that, and then when they see 10,000 black voices across the country speak up for it,
And
it'll mean something.
I think they should have term limits because, like Clarence Thomas asked, Clarence Thomas asked need to go home.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
I,
absolutely. So understand people that like the conspiracy theories and things like that. You don't have to really entertain that, because the truth is explanatory enough. When you hook up that amount of money to our politics and the election of candidates, you cannot have a good situation. You just can't. You can't. So we got to fix that. Other thing, um, should I go
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
next
yeah,
thing?
yeah. I wanted
Okay.
to kind of explain. Okay, so how do we fix this? I'm always looking
Yes.
for a solution. I'm like, all right, we know
Yes.
the problem. Let's
We
let's
we
fix
got to
it.
vote in the right people, get to the expansion of the Supreme Court and an ethics code, and then put the policies forward to bring in the FEC. The FEC has become a useless group for the most part. It's both Republican and Democrats on there, but they need to get back to
And
McCain-Feingold
that's the
days. Those
Federal
kind of things.
Election Commission. They're supposed to be like the
That's right.
umpires or the
Yes.
referees.
Yes, exactly. And then there's other parts of media reform. For instance, people don't know that black folks were penetrated, like I was speaking about earlier, with certain messaging. There was like three messagings that was dropped into us, into our social media. There were 133 fake Facebook and Instagram sites made. 84 of those targeted just for black folks. And the largest ones, like I've got a graphic of all of them in a bubble, and the largest circles are the largest sites. They're all black. These are all things that we all saw shared between us, right? Now, what did they do? They spoke to our pride. First black to do this, first dot dot, things like that. They spoke to our pain, police shootings, dot 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 dot. We start sharing them. Blackstagram, Nubian Love, right? Now they're embedded amongst us. We are real sites, like you and I are real people,
Yep.
but then these cyborg Russian sites are in between us now. 84 of them directed at black folks now. Out of the 133, only 14% of the population, but 84 of them pointed at us. And I'm trying to say, look, y'all know they clown Tyrone, but this is a real op that was performed on us. They dropped three messages. So after being our friends for a year and a half, then 3 weeks before the election, they pop up and say, why vote? What do you have interest in it? Left wing, right wing, two wings in the same bird.
Yep.
You voting for the lesser evil? Why vote for any evil? You
Yes.
got no stock in this. So it was all about either misdirection, go vote here, do this early, you're not eligible, dot, 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 dot. That was one message. Or go third party, the whole third party
Jill
movement,
Stein. Yep.
or
Cornell
don't
West.
even go, stay home.
Yep.
And it worked. At the end of the Senate Intelligence Report, this is not Burlock making this up. You can go read and look at every meme. Can you believe they have every meme that they sent? I'm looking at the memes, looking at stuff I shared that are beautiful things, things that are nothing wrong with. It's just that that was used to get into us. Our pain and pleasure, our pain and our pleasure and our our lives are very much appealing to the world. This 14% of this population, and we should leverage that for our advantage. But anyway, because of that, they know our story enough to lie to us. And so that's exactly what happened. And it worked. The Senate sum up was that there was no penetration more complete than in the black community. We took in every message they gave us. I think we could stand up and say that. Other people can know that and start to say, let's pick these three things back out and let's restable ourselves because that was BS.
So,
And it's
Cal,
all proven.
I want to ask Tracy's, I want to get her feedback. Sean and I talked about it off camera, and we didn't really get into it earlier. So, T, so this is what I'm seeing. I've seen in this commercial where you had these two white women and they had the MAGA husbands, and the husband's like, I know you're going to make the right vote and all that. And the white women go in the booth, or the voting machine, they look at each other, and then one of them circles Harrison Walls, and then they walk out. I know you made the right choice. And the white women said, sure, honey, and then put on the little I voted sticker, and then they looked at each other and winked like, yeah, we made the right choice. So do you think that enough white women will, or do you think enough white women realize now that their proximity to white nationalism and white supremacy was not enough to protect them from the patriarchy and sexism and the misogyny of their own men, which allowed their men to create all these abortion bans nationwide?
Oh, absolutely not.
Especially, you don't think so, really?
I don't, and this is why.
Well, do you think it'll be enough to help President-elect Kamala Harris?
I think it will be enough to help her, but this is why I think it does not. We had Hillary Clinton, a white woman.
True.
And me and my dad talk politics. As a matter of fact, we talked before I connected. The fact is, women tell other women we can do anything. We can do the same thing that men can do. But we don't want a woman in place in a power power player because she now has some authority, and now suddenly she is emotional. So no.
Wait, ain't nobody know. There's no president in the history of this country that was more emotional than Owen Hitler.
Well, I know, but
Emotional, temperamental,
so
moody, like
but
he
he
was on his
has
cycle every day.
but but he has the white authority. And I don't want to make this a racist situation, but this country is what it is.
No, I mean,
Let's get to the meat of this.
it was found. Listen, I mean, the truth is, America was founded on racism and sexism and misogyny.
We
Women
can
were
go
not.
back. We can go back further than that. So let's do that. The Nina, the Pina, and the Santa Maria was filled with prisoners. Everybody that was on that boat was released from jail. Christopher Columbus was told that you are going to get on this boat because you are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and we want you to take all of these prisoners and you get your crazy ass on this boat and sail off the face of the earth because the earth was flat. That was not what happened. And because they had no authority in the location that they were with, proximity, they came here and they felt powerful and they felt like they had an authority and they took over. The indigenous people, they showed them how to take care of themselves. And a year or two later, Thanksgiving was us gonna get rid of the people who were originally here and erase them, eradicate them from the face of the planet where they were.
And they
Where
virtually
they
did that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, moved them off their own land and put them in on reservations, which is crazy. That'd be like somebody coming to your house, Trinace, and like, hey, we like this house. It's nice. We discovered it, so we're gonna put you. You got like a little guest house. We're gonna just put you out there.
that's exactly what that was. So this country is built on other people taking things that don't belong to them. So to think that we would behave any differently is crazy.
So, all right. So, Cal, explain to everybody real quick what you got. Sean is back with us. Let everybody watching. What's on that screen? What's that all about? Cal, unmute your mic. Yeah, I saw your lips moving, but I didn't hear you.
So sorry, brother.
That's all
Yeah,
good.
what I was seeing, what you see here is that graphic I was talking about. These are all the fake Russian sites, all of them. All right, we know this is from the Senate report, and the circle size corresponds to the largest followers. And you see those are Blackstagram and Sincerely Black, right? All of these sites are completely fake. All
Wow.
right. So you see that. Let me show you one other
Native
graphic.
Americans, I see. Yes. Boy.
Hold on. Oh, so sorry. Let me 1 second.
Let me jump in while you're looking for that. One of the things that I've discussed with my students about media and social justice is the current way that they are attacking is by using everyone's interest. To give you an example, say you're a person who is interested in baking. The holidays are coming up, and you join some Facebook site that says "Baking for the Holiday." And then while you're on that site, people are sharing recipes, but then all of a sudden you get a political post like this pie looks like dumbass Joe Biden. They
Right.
are changing up the strategy. It's
Yes.
kind of like most of us who work in an office or work for an entity, you go through this cybersecurity course every year and they send it around. It's almost as if we need to have a cybersecurity course for everyone so they can recognize when they're getting fake information. I'm sure we all here, as intelligent as we are, talk politics amongst our family, but we have several family members who are sharing YouTube and TikTok videos of
Yes.
things that are totally inaccurate, AI
Yep.
produced,
Mm-hmm.
no
Yes.
sourcing. And so
Yes.
inherent into the Black community, this is why there is a destruction of education in the Black community. Because if you're educated, you can look and filter through information and know when something's real and something's phony. This has been the platform or the foundation that Trump has ran.
Yes,
Trump
exactly.
lies consistently. What happens? About a third consistently says, no, he's not lying. You're lying. The media is lying. You're all wrong. So you have that over there. Then you
Yes.
have this other portion who believes his lies are for their benefit. And so
Right.
what they do is they cover for the lie. Oh, he was joking.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's how Trump is.
He ain't really
Oh,
gonna do
well, you
that.
can't. That's how all politicians lie. And
Right.
then you have that other 20% who sit down, take time, dig, find out the information. They will vote the right way. The
Yeah.
problem is they're silent. They're
Yeah.
not talking. They can be black, white, green, purple, LGBTQIA, Christian fundamentalists. They're not
Right.
sharing the information.
Right.
It's kind of almost like I feel like I'm at a 5% meeting because there is a lot of truth to that. That there is a 5% of us who know the lies, understand the lies, recognize the lies, and try to inform the others.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I
that's
hope
very
it's more
important
than
to hold on to that.
I hope it's more than 5%. But I take your point though. You're right that there's a subset. This is that other graphic. This is real Senate Intel, right? All the cloud shaped ones, those are you and me real sites. The
Okay.
squares and the trapezoids are all fake sites. So
Wow.
this is
It's a
a
lot of those
mature.
squares and trapezoids.
Yes, and they're embedded there, and this is a real network. So, I'm just showing there's a lot of evidence that's there. If you got, I'm a former teacher. I'm all about education and getting the information out there so people can then have actions
And you
behind that.
said this is Cal, and just for those who's watching. So,
Mhm.
Cal didn't just get like a pencil and some paper and start drawing. He may be an artist, but this is not his display of his art skills as
No,
a sketch artist. This is information you said from the U.S. Senate Intelligence
yes,
Committee. Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
Gino, to quote his father, who I also know, and his sister Jarhead did his research.
Right.
You are
So,
so
so,
wrong.
or is
Yep.
Tracy and the ladies were saying in the barbershop, you got to have some receipts. So they're the receipts.
Absolutely. And the receipts are there, the receipts are there. So um here I want to point to one other thing that you all have heard before: follow the money, right? So let's like just imagine all the number of conversation and ads you've heard, put it in a ball and just throw it over there for a second. Let's just look at the money, where the money is coming from these two campaigns, and tell me what the difference is. About 64% of the donors on the Republican side are less than 100 people.
Mm.
In a country of 340 million, about 64% of the donations on the Republican side are less than 100 people. These are the Elon Musk, the Adelsons,
Peter Thiel.
the Koch brothers, all of those, the Peter Thiels, right? Less than 100. The Uline, right, out of Florida, a giant, company. So these are the ultra rich, and they leverage a system of cultural hot points, right? Fears,
Mm-hmm.
cultural hot points, and that's how they're in the game. Understand that it's a big balloon that's been a whole lot of money. I showed you on that other page that less than 100%. Now, flip side on the D side, about 64% are from individual donors that give $200 or less. In a
Wow.
country of 300 million, it's millions of them that make up the 64%, but they give donations of $200 or less. That's 5, 10, that's grandma setting aside 15, $20, baby. Okay, versus the party. That to me is enough to show you which is more democratic and which is probably telling you the truth. So Trump is meant to be a weather vane, a lightning vane to keep the attention on him over here. He's
Mm-hmm.
a juggernaut of that. You got media money. I showed you on the other page meets media professional. That's his
$20
superpower.
billion
That's
this
that
year, you said,
20 billion from
with a B.
5 million.
And 5 million was what, 2008?
2007.
2007.
2007.
Okay.
2007
So
was
when
5
Barack
million.
ran the total money
It,
spent for all the campaigns, presidential campaign, 5 million. Um, so
5
5
million in
million to 20
2007. Yep.
billion. Jesus
Yes, to 20
Christ.
billion. And
That's
it's not
crazy.
looking in any way of slowing down. And then look at our experience as citizens: ads, lies, lies, lies. Because see, prior to that happening, who controlled ad spending were the party committees. The Democratic Party committee and the Republican Party committee got a certain amount of exactly 5,000 maximum donations from all their supporters, and then they had to sit and see which markets to spend media in, which we're going to run as a committee. So there was an austerity to what came out. You didn't get a lot of salacious, stupid ads and this. No, that's because private outside companies are now sending in whatever. The parties would give you political messaging, except when Daddy Bush stepped off of it in '88 with the Willie Horton ad, where he tried to demonize the black man, made his lips swell and his eyes
Yeah.
swell, and he beat Dukakis when Dukakis was ahead. That was the
Mhm.
first time that a party committee had done something like that. He was widely talked about and goes down in history as wrong for a party committee to do that. Today, it ain't the committees. The money ain't in the party. The party is more of an honorific today than it is a actually spender as it relates to political ads. Outside money is the whole game. So, and remember this is a simple thing to show people to understand that 64% of their receipts are less than 100 people.
So
Makes
six
the
is a
point.
simple math. You know, I wouldn't like the math genius, but I can just round. I'm really good at rounding. So out of 20 billion, so 50% of 20 billion would be 10 billion. So another 14%. So that's probably uh, 14, 15 billion dollars.
It's sick.
So a
Mhm,
couple of years ago,
mhm.
Gino and I were talking, and I was saying we were talking about healthcare and younger people running for politics. And we also mentioned that everybody should take the opportunity to run. But what this money says is that everybody will not have the opportunity because it's really become a popularity contest. How much money can I throw behind popular Geno Jones in comparison to, we may know her a little bit, Trinace Carter. It's the same thing. And that prevents all of us from getting the benefits that we are paying for our government officials that we are all electing to have forever, but we don't get the same benefit. We don't get the same health care. We don't get the same protection when it comes to the police. We don't get any of that, but we're paying for these people who have paid to be in a place
Right.
and supposed to be supporting us.
And then they get to give you this BS messaging all day long. That's what they get to do. They get to claw your time, your important time, and fill it with misinformation and continuous BS. That's what has been created. You know, remember TV used to go off and the red and yellow lines would come up.
Yeah,
They play the Star Spangled Banner.
bars and tones.
That's right. Now we got a 24-hour media news market, and they fill it up and going to keep filling it up because we're drawing out of our stuff from cable news and social media now. So it takes a new kind of standard and regulation, and we just haven't been ready for it. How do we change it? We get the people there, and then we state what we need. That's why media reform is number 7 on our report card, because we're going to judge every single candidate, every single official and company by a media reform grade,
So
and then
it's
let the people know.
9:04
Yep.
on the East Coast. It's 8:04 in Texas and Houston. Um, so Sean, you got any? So Cal, you
don't
can
really,
check and see
I
what you
don't really
got
have
in
any
Georgia. Sean,
updates.
just what do you have in general? And Trinace, if
I
you
don't
see
have any
anything in
updates,
Houston
but
or Texas about Colin Allred and Ted Cruz.
They
can
haven't
you hear
said
me?
they haven't said anything yet. They're mostly talking about the presidential portion. It looks like Darth Orange might win Georgia.
Darth Orange.
Well,
How
it
much
looked
is
that
So
way
winning?
earlier. Yeah,
here's
but
a quick
Cal, you could
update
speak to
for you.
Georgia, you know, because, you know, it looked, which is why that really set Orange Hitler off, because he was in 2020, he was leading, but as those counties around metro Atlanta, and Cal's right there in Georgia,
Yeah.
you know, Fulton, Gwinnett, Cal, you can speak to that better than me. And there's
They
so many,
I'm looking
the
I'm looking
turnout
for a
was
report
pretty
on it.
high, so a lot of those numbers are going to come in and it's going to be a new day, and they're going to be like, oh shit, here we
Absolutely.
go again.
And then I have an update from Florida when
Go
you get a
ahead. Well,
chance.
give us that. Give us that now.
Go ahead,
Okay,
John.
so in Florida, the abortion right to an abortion bill went down. It needed a 60% threshold. It came in at 57-43 with 86%
Oh, they had to
of
have
the vote remaining.
Oh, it wasn't a simple
So,
Changed
majority.
to
yeah.
be an amendment.
Oh, so
Yeah.
the census was slick, and they rigged it the way it had to get 60%. I didn't know that.
So another
South
update.
Dakota just came up for abortion and they passed. It was, I think it was 60 some odd
Where's that
percent.
at? Where?
South Dakota.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see Michigan's numbers. Kamala Harris is ahead there, 55%.
So here's some interesting information. Kansas is at 29% in. Kamala Harris is up 51% to Trump's 46%.
Yeah, I saw
Yep.
that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's gonna keep going.
Well, you know, Kansas, Sean and Cal and Trinace, you may know this. Kansas was one of the first states where they had one of those referendums to codify abortion rights in their constitution, and it passed like a huge majority.
I think Kansas is a canary in the coal mine towards the Midwest with women and people looking at. I think we need to keep an eye on Nebraska because an independent is running for Senate there, and he's been giving the Republican a flux.
He was leading. I saw some numbers about him, Sean. You're right. He was early, but he was leading in the lead. Yep. I forgot his name, but I know what you're talking about. That one district, which is basically Omaha, which is the largest city in Nebraska.
Yes, but I'm speaking in general about the Senate seat in Omaha, because an independent who will probably caucus with the Democrats he was 3 points down prior to Election Day, and some polls have showed him with a 1 point lead or a lead within the margin of error. Okay. And so I think because of the issue of abortion, I think sometimes when we're from urban areas, especially when we're from, even if you're from a rural area in the South, the Midwest is a very distinct area. And while it can reflect some of the Southern values, Midwest kind of over time has given women more autonomy. You see more in the Midwest, women driving trucks, running farms, being entrepreneurs. You have more women who are governors in the Midwest, even if they're Republican governors. And so you now have in the Midwest a very educated woman populace where all this time, the men have been working the land, taking care, and they've been sending their daughters, and the granddaughters are now going to college and getting educations, and they're coming back home. There's not so much of this brain drain. You can look at every year they publish the number of citizens that leave states. When you look at some of the areas of the Midwest, they're not really bleeding residents. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that their young educated people are coming back to those states and they're doing either research. These states are now invested in biofuels, clean energy, batteries, manufacturing. So what does that mean? That means we need more doctors, more highly educated and skilled people. So these populations, this is changing. Kind of where when Trump is speaking about we're being invaded, he's not just talking about immigrants. He's talking about women. He's talking about people of color. You go to cities in the Midwest, and you're going to see just as many people percentage-wise of color as you see in the rest of the states. Remember, Black people make up anywhere from about 14% to about 17% of the population. Yep. And in a lot of these places in the Midwest, because we've moved and spread out, we're all sitting here products of the civil rights movement and 70 enlightened, what the white people call woke now, enlightened population. We now live everywhere. We now have viable jobs. We don't all stay in the projects. We're not all on welfare anymore. And so these places are becoming very, very diverse, very educated. And so I think that's, like I said earlier, we're going to see some upsets in some of these areas that
These red areas.
the media has never predicted because they're not on the ground and the polling is very inaccurate.
So I got
Yeah,
my eye on Iowa.
yeah, I think the
Sean and I
jig is
talked
up.
about that. We talked about that like we had a pre-show meeting. But I got that poll from the Des Moines Register. This woman, Ann Seltzer, her
Hmm.
poll is, according to everybody in the media, even on the cult side, it's like,
Hmm.
that Ann Seltzer, because she was like on every network, MSNBC, CNN, they even had her on Fox. They were sweating. They was like, oh shit, her poll is always accurate. Oh damn.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think the jig is up, man. I agree with
yeah,
you,
I think that's the
Sean.
tell. Hey,
You know,
Trinace,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask you this question, but I'll let you speak from a black woman's perspective, because you're not a white woman, but you're still a woman. But I think even a significant number, even though you're not certain, you say it may be enough white women that realize that, basically found out that, this proximity to privilege and power didn't protect them from this patriarchy and sexism. But for black women, are they more upset about losing reproductive freedoms for themselves? I'll say, women, I'll say like 40s, 50s, like your age, like Gen Xers and maybe some baby boomers. Are they more upset about that for themselves or for their daughters and granddaughters? Good question,
So
huh?
no, what I'm gonna say is a woman who's had an abortion. It's important for me because I have a daughter and I have granddaughters. It's important for me to know that if that's their decision, it's nobody's business. The reason that I say it is because it was my choice. Nobody got to decide for me. I decided going to school was more important than having a baby, and that was not the time. And while we are talking about reproductive health care is horrible. You want to prevent women from having abortion, but you want to give men Cialis and Viagra. So
Make it make sense, huh?
right. So when you consider that as a woman, when you go to the doctor, there are certain you can get a mammogram only at a certain age. I know a woman that had that had a lump at 26, and she had to push her doctor, push her doctor, push her doctor, push her doctor. If you say I need a mammogram, you should get it
Yes. And
because
your
you
insurance,
know
your insurance should cover it.
that's correct. And this is where I'm going with this. It's not just about reproductive rights, but it's about our right to be cared for us to care for you men. It's about us having our physical health for us to be able to take care of these children that you want us to have. It's about our us being able to be healthy to care for our parents who we're gonna have to make some decisions on my mother soon, on my father soon.
Hmm.
It's about being healthy. I can't have kids. I don't want no more kids. My kids are grown,
Hmm.
but I got granddaughters. I
Hmm.
got nieces.
Hmm.
I got adopted nieces.
Hmm.
What happens when one of them is raped
Hmm.
Yeah.
or incest? Or something happens that they are taken advantage of, date rape drugs. What happens when they are taken advantage of and you are forcing this young lady to grow this baby in her womb and then say just give it away? And then when you put it in the foster care system, then there's something wrong with her. She's now labeled because she didn't want to care for a child that she didn't even want in the first place.
What?
So
I'm afraid.
No.
statistically, there are more Caucasian women having abortions than us.
Oh, absolutely.
This is not about us.
But that's the tell. But now okay. Now let me
But you
just
know, this
let me
is not
jump in
about
right
us.
there. I'm glad you said that, T. But first
There
of all,
is, I can't think of this book, but to get this book now, it costs $400. I gained access to the book. My sister sent me a PDF of this. This book costs $400. If you go on Amazon, I'm going to send you the name of the book. This anti-abortion has nothing to do with blacks or browns or yellows. It has everything to do with Caucasians, and they're getting rid of their babies.
Yeah.
So in order to protect their race.
Yes, that's where I'm going. Thank you for leading, man. I
In order
can't
to
think of the name of the
protect
book.
their race.
Yep. But
they have to do all of us.
But let me say this though, Trace, because you set this up perfectly. You set it up like Magic Johnson back in the day, throwing an alley-oop to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or somebing alley-ooping to Jordan. And let's tie this into the money, Cal. So see, the real secret is that for those that 1% that's on the left side of that yellow paper, them Peter Thiels and Elon Musk, these young white women that are having abortions are not having enough young white babies who want them to be uneducated so they can go to the military and fight these wars, so they can serve in these blue-collar jobs in these states where they call it right to work. I call it right to work for free, like South Carolina, where you don't have unions. Sean was talking about that union protection. So it's a cheap labor force, but they want to keep this sense of whiteness. So we don't want the cheap labor force of brown folks, but we want these young white women to have more white babies, so we can have a cheap labor force of white people like they had back in the 20s and 30s. Am I in the right neighborhood, Cal?
I'm gonna agree with you, brother. I'm gonna agree that is likely possibility. I'm gonna state it a little bit differently too, in the context of the money. In this sense, y'all, they never gamed out the changing of abortion to affect things the way that it's affecting things, because remember, they never really cared. It wasn't really a fight for life.
All that
It
pro-life.
was a election issue.
It's a
Wait,
dog
It was a
chasing the
pride.
car.
It was
It's
an
a
election
dog
issue.
chasing the car.
Yes, it's a
Right.
cattle prod.
Right.
It's a cattle prod for their voter, the evangelical Christian, telling them that God will punish America, that this is happening in other people's homes. They do not see anybody else as American except for themselves. And so the politicians are rich know that.
Let me just say this, because this is such a pet peeve. Those same evangelicals that are pro-life, and they're gonna go to hell if they terminate a pregnancy, but then make it make sense that you are pro-death penalty.
Yes, and don't care nothing about the baby.
Maternal mortality rate for black women is 3 times the rate of white women. So if we pro-life, let's be pro-life.
Yes. So to reject the whole debate is where you start. Don't let them take you into some moral issue. Reject the entire debate. Understand that all of humanity has debated a woman's right to choose, and most of humanity has always left it in her hands to choose without penalizing her or the doctors that did that. So they didn't game any of that out. They didn't think about IVF. They didn't think about Ernest Thurman possibly dying from not getting the DNC. They never looked at the books because that's not who they are. These, like every issue that they fight, think about immigration, right? That is a running issue. They could fix some things about immigration. Remember 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when they had a joint plan for the Dreamers and for everybody, and Newt Gingrich walked in and said, no, I will not give amnesty to these illegals. And it's been a fight ever since because they found out I could just run on it. It's a political football. Understand, it's not even serious. So I don't even want to go to a place and do punditry, which also came for those millions of dollars that's now there for it, right? What was a pundit when we grew up? It was Walter Cronkite, tell me the news.
Yeah.
Now you're paid to be a career. What are you going to be when you go? A pundit. I get paid, just keep the debate going. No solve, just keep the debate. And the money is there for it now. I'm saying if you unplug that shit, punditry does this, the BS does this, and we get to have a clear sight. That's what American government used to protect. We got to get back to doing that. But
so I'm curious, who actually is concerned about immigrants or migrants? Who's actually concerned about that?
There are concerns, and migrants and the issues surrounding them are not new at all to the United States of America. We have had an asylum policy to handle that. It's been overrun and it's antiquated because instead of solving the issues that we have known about it, they just toss it back and forth and raise money on it. Toss it back and forth, jab the people, fearmonger the immigrant,
Can I
fearmonger
jump
us
in
included.
too?
Yeah,
Can I
go ahead,
jump in
Sean.
real quick?
Sure.
Because we've destabilized a lot of those countries that these individuals are coming from. See, I'm old enough to remember Reagan's policy, Iran-Contra. We just throw that away because, look, that's part of the reason why we have Trump. Trump thinks he's smarter than Reagan. He's running the same campaign, the same approach. The Republicans are doing the same thing they did under
Make
Reagan.
America great.
We
That
don't
whole-
know
yep.
what he's doing. Oh, he's just joking. These are the same things.
But he's
They've
got
been doing it
billions of
over
dollars
and
now
over
doing
and
it.
over again. To
Yeah.
show you that what I'm talking about is we have white Americans who will tell you every single day they don't want people from Latin America in the country because they're taking our jobs. Well, the only jobs those people take are picking lettuce, strawberries, vegetable. And if we talk about it on the real, about a third of them go right back to Mexico when the growing season is over.
Yes.
But let's put a paperclip on that and let's move to the next issue. If they're taking your jobs, somebody has to hire them, right? So why have we never had the policy that if you hire somebody illegal immigrant, we see when Border Patrol or immigration enforcement shows up, ICE shows up at a place, they arrest everybody illegal, but they don't go arrest the HR person
Workers, right.
or the CEO.
Yep.
Because
And
if you
those
started
have been
doing
largely
that,
Republicans.
they wouldn't be under that. And let me add a final thing. I don't hold penalty against anyone that is escaping some of the same things we see in the Black and poor communities and trailer parks of this country: drugs, gang violence, to have a better life. That would be similar to privileged folks who live in the suburbs who say, I don't want those ghetto people from the city leaving, moving, living out to me.
Yep, real
And
talk.
so, the country is built off colonization and taking over. The second part is the only other immigrants we don't complain about is the immigrants that perpetuate what we've been talking about. The fear of abortion is not the fear of aborting black, brown, yellow, red babies. It's the fear of aborting white babies. That's not a racist thing. It's just the fact of the matter.
It's an
Let
economic
me move on to
thing.
let me move on to the second part. The biggest illegal immigrants come here on visas and never leave. And guess where they are from?
Europe.
The people who we should be evicting. Europe, Russians, people from Eastern Bloc countries in Europe, like Hungary. And why are they being allowed? The same reason that the NRA can go over to Russia, where you're not allowed to have the personal armament we are, but quote unquote claim that they're working with Russians for Second Amendment rights when Russians don't have that. It is a configuration of white supremacy around the planet getting together, making their last stretch for control under white supremacy. Because the truth of the matter is, people of color as a collective outnumber all of white folks on the planet. And that's not a racist statement, and that doesn't mean I have anything against good white folks. What I'm simply saying is the white supremacy is built off the same thing it was built off when Hitler did it. It's the same thing when the Romans did what they did in Egypt. The same thing, we can keep on going back and back in time, even when the Moors came into Europe to teach them sanitation, education, and direction. It's the same principle that my genetic skin is an abnormality. And I know people will say you wrong and that's racist, but that is the truth. When we do genetics, it's an abnormality because on the planet, to live on Earth, you have to be acceptable to sun.
Right.
You can't be on Earth unless your body can accept sun. And so guess what? It's an abnormality.
That was a great drop the mic point right there. And let me just simplify it, because I've done it. First of all, this whole concept of whiteness is just a con job. It's a made-up
social
con
construct
job that was created like in the late 1680s over in Europe. Europeans did not call themselves white before the 17th, almost the end of the 17th century. They never called themselves white. They created this constructive idea.
A marketing job for
Yep, that's
the
exactly what it
African
was.
transnational slave trade.
To
That
pit-
was
yes. To pit groups against each other. I am not. I don't have a medical degree, but I'm smart enough to understand this. If any of us on this screen, from Sean to Trinace to Cal to you, and we could get a bunch of quote unquote white people, they could draw our blood, and we could go to Ancestry, AfricanAncestry.com, and when the blood work comes back and the DNA test results come back, I will bet a lifetime salary to $1 that the DNA will never say that you were 85% white. It may say you have ancestry from Germany or from Scotland or from Ireland or Eastern European or from India or France. It will not say, it won't say whiteness is made up. There's nothing in the human genome that will come back in a DNA test that will tell you your percentage of whiteness using those words. Whatever European ancestry, it will show up that way.
Yes. I found out real quickly that I was, it's funny, Black folks try to make up different excuses for having fine and curly hair. And so we've always lied to ourselves and said, oh, we're Native American. Right. I ran my ancestry and I found out that, oh, I'm 3% Welsh. Oh, I'm 9% Great Britain. And then the rest, as my uncle would say, is straight up ninja. It is a multitude of African along that coast, and some of it goes back down into Botswana. I say all that to say that even in that reality, that my genetics will, between all of us on this show right now, will match up with my white neighbor before it matches up with any of you. So that's why race is a lie and a construct that is just out of things, just like, and this will make people real uncomfortable, but sexuality isn't structured the way we have this modern perception of sexuality, because human nature and the structure of nature is totally different. I'm not advocating for any type of sexuality. I'm just simply saying, from an academic and what we've learned and what we know, we have a whole lot of constructs that are structured for economic and social purposes, and they have nothing to do with nature or how we treat and how we work with one another.
It's about controlling power, economic, social, and political power and resources.
Yes.
So how do we then develop now a vision for current action for economic development and for social political advance? Knowing these things that you all have spoken of, the history of the country, how it was founded, how race was a construct created, after Bacon's Rebellion and all that whole thing, we know that these things would be true. We've been facing it for decades. So what level of intel do we have that came in with the Similac? Should not we have some set of experiences that says this is what's successful and this is what doesn't work? I can tell you what doesn't work and what's successful from a historical viewpoint. After looking at movement after movement after movement, there are certain things that stand out. Activism works. Voting works. One of the first things that happened when people got the right to vote, Black people, 1965, was the amount of dead Black people dropped precipitously. Because it used to be normal in certain areas that you could kill Black people, get away with it. The police did it. The citizens did it. No real accounting of it. That dropped right away because you could take out the bull counters and the others because they weren't running the show then, right? So it's really a matter.
Let's just say this, Cal. Wait a minute. We all are from Chicago, the metro Chicago area. So police brutality. Listen, you had a mayor at a convention that issued publicly a shoot to kill order at a Democratic National Convention. So we know about, like Sean said, Dr. King came to Cicero. Is a western suburb of Chicago, and Marquette Park, which is a neighborhood not far from where I grew up in Inglewood, and said, even, I'm paraphrasing, even in the Deep South, he didn't see the hatred and racism in the Deep South that he saw in Cicero and Marquette Park. That's
So
a
we have to lead the country.
yes.
That's really the heart of it. We have to be the leader because black folks are the real barometer of freedom in America. There's no other measure that you can look at to know, is America free and is it accomplishing its highest ideals, except for looking at black folks. That has afforded us a distinct position in the world that we should realize we have and use that for our benefit. But truly, that is how it goes. So it's getting to it's getting to be able to communicate with each other and move together. It goes back to what Stokely Carmichael says: only organization that we lack, at times. Look at how much getting ready it took. Look how much guesswork we're at tonight over some things we know have been brewing for a long time, and it's hard to get people to see things and change. We've got to create that. So, what's our vision of America? First of all, here's something that's being lost. DEI has been made a bad word. There is no America without DEI. America is very much the actual DEI. Because remember, prior to America, every country were nation states. That means they spoke the common language and nobody spoke that language more than the people in that region. That's called a nation state. So coming from Italy, there was no white landia. It didn't exist. America was founded by everybody: African, Jew, Indian, everybody's here. So the very nature of it's not even named after ethnicity. It's named after a man who publicized it, Amerigo Vespucci, who was a map maker and wrote maps. When you came back from there, he'd check his map and resolve it better, right? Improve it. And he just talked about it to the way the map maker said that's America's land.
But
So
hey,
it is a land of opportunity for all.
Cal, I want you to
Mm-hmm.
I want to just jump in because you mentioned DEI. So let's
Mm-hmm.
address this real quick, and then
Mm-hmm.
uh, we can kind of get some final numbers because you all have been
Yep.
very generous. I've held you guys for almost 3 hours. But since if we're going to talk about DEI, let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about the original DEI programs and who benefited from them. And I'll toss it back to you. But let's talk about or Sean can jump into. We can talk about the GI Bill. We could talk about how in reverse DEI, how our ancestors were
Yeah.
victims of redlining, where they literally would take a red marker and they would draw around black neighborhoods and the zip codes and banks and insurance companies. If you lived inside that red line, they wouldn't benefit. But how so many white soldiers benefited from a government
Oh, well,
program.
I apologize. Already that's 46% and cruises at 52.
Okay. What percentage? What percentage of the votes are in? It's probably still early because I bet like Harris County, y'all numbers are probably hadn't come in yet. When when Harris County comes in, but yeah, Calvin, you wanted to speak to that because it's so funny that and the majority of people on public assistance in America are white by number are white people.
Absolutely.
But no, I just wanted
Absolutely.
because when you brought that up, the hypocrisy is that
Yes.
when white America was benefiting from some type of assistance that they call handout or DEI. It was
That's right.
the GI Bill was never. That's not a handout.
Right. Free land and free labor was the promise to white folks coming from Europe, and and they got all of that. And we brought our intelligence, all of that. You got to understand, prior to us being born into slavery, Africans were hired as the wise leader of how to navigate the Atlantic, how to plant crops, how to do those things. We were more advanced in that regard. And had they attacked Africa as like them against Africa, it wouldn't have went the way it did. They did it tribe by tribe by tribe and used a whole lot of manipulations and machinations to turn people against each other, as they do today.
And you made
So
a good point, Cal, that
mhm,
another reason why our ancestors that were brought here from West Africa, those countries,
mhm,
was because these colonizers couldn't feed themselves. And if it
right,
wasn't for the Native Americans, they would have starved that first
that's right,
quote unquote Thanksgiving. So they
that's right.
realized, okay, well, now we're trying to
The
get rid of
first
these Native
welfare
Americans.
program.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they went and got our ancestors in countries to where they knew how to grow things like
That's right.
rice and other
That's right.
crops.
And out of that, we built the country. My father sent me a text last week. He's like, "Hey, I'm at the Capitol, touring the White House and the Capitol. I'm feeling my ancestors." He had tears in his eyes, smiling from ear to ear. And to be his age and traveling and seeing that and walking, he put in for over 2 years ago. He has to go through all kind of clearance, right? And so, but we need to understand we built this place. We built UNC, Harvard, all those universities. Black hands built that. We built all of it. The White House. My wife's cousin wrote the book, Black Man Built the Capitol, where he goes and shows pictures of all the trenches dug before they even put the building together. Those were black hands. So in our criticism of America, although there may be many, also seize upon the fact that this is your country. Yeah, we're mixed. We're African, but we're not just like African. I'm with the the Pan African and the diaspora and all that, but we also have some things right here in our context that we need to come together on because we're targeted people at times in our context, right? Republicans set out to prove that there was no racism, and then they went after black scholarships, black investment, black affirmative action in high school, black this or that. They a whole list of black things they went after, talking about trying to prove that no racism exists, and then you did the very thing to prove it. Like as a teacher, it takes so long to change the standard, right? When you've set the standards that the professionals say are the standards to give to our students, it takes an act of God to change something that old. They in a year swept across the country with this fear of CRT and changed school rules everywhere, saying that white supremacy don't exist, doing the most white supremacist thing ever. So you can't go to sleep on their blanking out of you. They don't even see your life in existence. And then and it's not that it's all nefarious. Remember, they're being leveraged right here by whole powerful engines that if they don't have the intelligence to literary and analyze, they can't see through it. So come together, y'all, and get the people here so we can stop this. This is the real con. Everybody want to talk about Trump and but fascism is this. It's the rich and elite seizing a demagogic leader. The leader is just part of it. It's the monies behind them that makes it all possible. So you have to not just beat Trump tonight, it's to indict the entire movement of MAGA, to stand up and say it is antithetical to our vision of America, right? America is DEI. What are you talking about, sucker? We called it a melting pot from its beginning. We all like Uncle Sam. We all here together, the red, white, and blue. The military is diverse. Every single system that makes us great is diverse. So why are you presenting this image of America that it was white? It never was white. Why do people think that? Even I hear some brothers say, "Well, I wish we still had segregation because black people had more businesses back then." And I go, "Oh, by that simple measure, you would put us back into Jim Crow. You don't understand that there was a very violent life, precarious life for black people. That whatever you built, if you did have a black business, you better act it like you didn't. Like
they
over here
burned
in
it down.
Winder, Georgia."
Yep.
The man was the richest in the area, black man, and he drove a horse and a cart every day because if he had got a car, they would have killed him because he was doing better than them.
Yep.
That is what Jim Crow was.
See,
So unless
just
you want to go back to that,
see Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Greenwood
yes,
district that they burned. Well, they burned it
sure,
down, and then we rebuilt it, and then the government just they destroyed it because they
urban
built an
renewal, right?
interstate highway through it.
That's right. That's right. Those decisions were made, and Romney's father, at the point back then, he was head of HUD. He tried to argue for proper compensation for the black communities when the white
George
racists in
Romney.
those states were like, yeah, he was trying to argue for proper compensation, and they overruled him. Eisenhower did, and was like, no, you don't have to pay the black folks, but they would pay the white folks for their land.
He
With
used to
us, you
be
get
the
eminent domain
he was the
and
governor of
move.
Michigan, actually.
That's right. Where
And
we grew up
always
along
keep in
290.
mind,
290 did that to Chicago. Where we
yeah,
grew up, y'all, 290.
and keep in mind, I guess I can step in here
Mm-hmm.
because this kind of ties into one of the things that I focused on in my legal research is about the redlining and the environmental unjust. I was on a earlier meeting today because my daytime position affords me the opportunity to work on social justice issues.
Mm.
And one of the biggest social justice issues is about the right to own a home. But not only that, the environment that home is sitting on. See, what we don't understand is a lot of things like
Environmental
cancer
protection,
and different health issues like asthma
cancer,
and cancers with black folks have a lot to do with the environment you live in and the water and the air that you breathe every single day. And so one of the biggest issues that we need to really be looking at the candidates that run for office or run for president is what is their policy regarding social justice issues beyond police and government. I'm talking environment, I'm talking food deserts, I'm talking about redlining, I'm talking about educational purpose. Here in Chicago, we have this system that says, hey, you can get a voucher and send your child to a charter school, and the charter school isn't even held to the same standard that the public school is standing in. And so we flipped the dynamic. Instead of shutting down the schools because we don't want to follow Brown v. Board of Education, what we're going to do instead is underfund, undermine, mismanage the schools. And these things all feed into the environment we're dealing in, because we all, like I said, know, in not only in the Black community, but in the general community, people that don't understand the information that they're looking at, they don't understand sourcing, they think an AI video is factual. And that is leading our whole entity of the United States down a terrible path that's built off white supremacy, racism, and bigotry, which makes no sense.
We have an opportunity
to wrap
to
this
lead.
up in a button.
Well, Sean, Cal just pulled that up, part of his app.
I was just going to say
environmental justice. Go ahead, Cal.
Thank you. I just want to say that he's absolutely correct, and it means so much to us. There have been recent decisions that affected us, like the inability to sue for disparate impacts in Louisiana. One state out of 50 cannot sue companies if they prove disparate impact between the races. They made that outlaw. The Supreme Court did earlier this year.
And Cal, do me a favor, break that down. Explain to people in a little less legal terminology.
Yes.
Disparate impact. What does that really mean?
What that means is if there is different impacts, if one part of the community has more death, sickness, and disease from the cancer emissions in this area, and can prove that, they can't take that into admission in court. They have to overlook, even if it's a disparate impact. In every other 49 states, you can do that. The Supreme Court just ruled in Louisiana can't. And we're talking about Cancer Alley. This is the lane between New Orleans and Baton Rouge.
Yes.
The cancer rates there are some 60%, 65% higher than the regular population.
Got a lot of petroleum plants down there.
A lot of Black people. A lot of petroleum, and also all kinds of chemical plants in there for the making of those petroleum products, right? And so there's everybody there knows people who died from cancer. So environmental justice is something that Biden did. He created the Justice 40 initiative that said 40% of all cleanup work has to go into the most impoverished communities, which are mostly Black communities. You're able to tap into some of that money. Another thing that the Biden-Harris administration does, people didn't know that they did. But what about these storms? Right? Like clean energy and resilience technology has been one of our specialties. We know now there is no debate. A couple years ago they were debating climate change. There's no debate now. They're seeing the billions of dollars, that are being lost and the people's lives being affected by climate change. So it's stupid. No one really except for Trump, would call it a hoax today. We're all experiencing it. The Midwest cares about that too. I think that's why they're, in play. Some of those states are not going to go against the anti-science folks. I just think we have to lead on these issues, and we have to have an easy way to do it. That, every issue that he brought up, like the environmental, the media, it's all in the assessment of our people.
And so, Cal, before we wrap up and get everybody's final thoughts and comments, last words, tell us, this app basically is where people can download it, and it's like a report card. They can see not just politicians, but corporations. If they address these issues that, like environmental justice and all the issues you see on screen.
Exactly. The app is like a report card. I'm a former teacher, and I was like, look, man, we need to create a rubric that's credible, that really is a very good rubric, and then apply it to them and make it easy for Black people to see it and understand it.
And the name is it Check It Out? What is it again?
It's called Check Him. Check Him Out. Yeah,
Check Him Out.
CEO. Check Him Out. I got a little bit, if you let me, I got a short video. It's a music video. I had a rapper make it. Now, y'all, this is
go ahead, play it. Yeah.
This is just Burlock's deal, but let me just play that for you. All right, let's see. I think you can hear the sound.
We don't hit the audio. You may have to unmute it. The sound may be muted.
My bad. That was my bad. Let me do that again.
We can see it.
Also share system audio. There we go. And there.
Yo, G, voting Democrat up and down the ballot this year, but I need two things. One, a way to know these candidates, and two, after the election, a way to hold them accountable.
You ready to ride? It's a brand new day. With CEO app, you'll lead the way. 6 vehicles of power. luxury and pride. Empower your voice. Let's take a ride. Corvette like a Volt. Speed up in your hands. Choice is the power. It's time to make a plan. Bugatti like my voice. You hear it loud and clear. Speak the truth through masses. Let them know we really here. McLaren like my vision. You see the path so bright. With the dreams in our heart, we'll soar tonight. Rari like my values. It's built to last and strong. Stand firm in your belief. You can't never go wrong. Investment in the Lambo, support was right here. Fuel local business, spread the love with love and cheer. Virtue like my Maybach, elegance all up inside. With integrity as I trust in God.
Shout out, first of all, shout out to the brother. He is a car, obviously, he's a luxury car enthusiast, and I love it. shout my man out. What's his name, man?
Cal Burl. Oh, the guy, Baby G. That's Baby G,
Baby
man,
G,
the rapper.
You need to get that up on TikTok and Instagram and Threads and all of them.
Exactly, man. I was trying to kind of conceptualize some way of people to think of their powers, and I thought, maybe the group younger than us, Gen Z, millennials, might get into cars, and then I thought, a whole, we can run a whole car thing,
Tell him he should call Cardi B or Sexy Red and do a collabo with them.
Man, if I promise you this, there are a lot of people, musicians, producers here in Atlanta that are interested in it. And I've been at this fight for a couple years building. I'm not a coder. I'm a professional in other ways. But there are a lot of people who want to see this. A lot of folks. So if you know people and you know the power of what we're doing to be able to have what Amiri Baraka called a quasi national legislature, our own quasi governmental structure, right? Remember what an app and what technology allows you to do today. We can never be all in one app, inform smart people making joint decisions at a local and a national presence. Think about that. That's what could not be created when the technology wasn't there. Now we can do it.
So give everybody, so it's check them out. The app will be available for the general public, you say, sometime around or by December 1st. And they can download it. They can go to the, if you got an Android phone like mine, you can go to the Play Store or the Apple Store if you got an iPhone or Apple product. And download it on your phone, your tablet, your PC at home, your laptop, the whole nine. There you go.
Absolutely. So IG will tell you all the information about it. Black Men Goals. If you go there, we have all our systems and programs there. But you can go right to the app information is at bit.ly/ and then caps CEO app info. But it's called, check them out. You'll see it. It's free. It's never going to cost you money. It's not for money. In fact, the people I've been before, the investors like, okay, how do you make money? And I go, you don't understand. This is for the impact first. And they're still like, well, yeah, but do this. I'm like, yeah, I know. I could sell ads and sell programs and events and conferences down the road. I'm looking at the impact. I want a user base to pop up, and all of a sudden, you got to understand, elected leaders care about attention. They care about money, yes, but attention is almost equal to money, and that's what you and I can bring.
That's how they get the money.
Exactly, and they don't want to be outed on the things that they're not supposed to, so there's power there. That's what I'm trying to get people to see and make it easy in the app.
If it wasn't so, then you've got the numbers. You can go back to that page. Why is it that in this election, both parties and the 501c3s or the nonprofits, or political action committees, they call them PACs, y'all. That means just the people with money that support democracy or oppression have spent a total of $20 billion, or as Austin Power would say, billion with a B, billion dollars on media and social media. As a matter of fact, I heard a stat to where a significant number of the money that was spent, Democrats and Harris and Walt's campaign was on social media, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and just all those YouTube social media platforms. So shout out to Illinois, since we all are natives of Illinois. Well, go ahead, Calvin. Before we
no, I was just gonna mention that when you ever had the conversation with some people about voting and they don't see it.
Yeah.
You got to expand the conversation to their other powers. approach them as a man and woman. Say, don't you have a desire of where you want to go? And aren't you somebody? Don't you mean and stand for something? Get them to tap into those values and vision. That's why that's there, because it's a whole program that's going to mature thinking of the people. We're going to have to get to the whole context and not just ask a hood nigga to go vote. Excuse my French. They're not going to do that. They're gonna talk about you and call you a fool. Every fool.
Right.
They think you going to
Right.
give somebody something. And one thing we don't like to do is get our chest full of steam, and it don't mean nothing for us. We got to show how it connects and how it means something for your kids and for your money and your business opportunity, that barbershop you're trying to open or that home you're trying to buy. You have to connect it to those things. So that's all.
Well, let me just say what I love the way you did right there. Just hold the graphic for a second, and
Mm-hmm.
you can drop it out and bring everybody back on full screen. Is that you targeted these young brothers and sisters? You targeted, especially you targeting the Gen Z, because I'm telling you, I have a daughter that's a millennial in her 30s, and the baby girl is a Gen Z. Now millennials are like no nonsense. But the Gen Zs, if you got I don't know if you got a Gen Z, a daughter or son, Tracy, Trinace, I think your daughter is, how old is your baby girl? 20?
25.
So she's right there at Gen Z, at the high end of Gen Z. Allie just turned 23. You talking about don't, IDAGAF, don't give a, they are fearless. And you cannot bullshit them, and they are smart. They're probably the smartest generation. You can't fool them. They are tech savvy, but they got common sense, and they have a sense of social justice and purpose and commitment to the community, to culture, community, and culture. So you knew who to target.
Yes, sir. That's what we're going for. So y'all don't forget about this. This is all y'all project too. You know what I'm saying? We from Maywood. This comes from our area. We grew up swimming in Fred Hampton swimming pool. That's where I learned to swim. You hear what I'm saying? This is us, y'all. This ain't about ascendancy for me. I have another system related to science and tech that is economic development is the primary concern. This is for us, man. So please share it. Let people know, like, we got a power network coming up that's free and active, you know.
So listen, man. So we are approaching 10 o'clock. So I just saw, okay, they projected. So Sean, they did project Orange Hitler to win Kansas. They projected that, but it's only 51 to 47, 53% in. But the numbers I saw to Michigan, Kamala's up 52 to 46 in Michigan. Pennsylvania, similar numbers. Shout out to, I was saying Illinois, it's already been called for the projected.
Yeah, let me say this. I think the blue wall from the northern tier, Wisconsin, Illinois, well, Illinois isn't really in it, but Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania are pretty solid for her. I want to watch for Iowa and see what Iowa does, because I still believe Iowa could break.
Keep an eye on North Carolina.
Here's the other thing. The Hill called North Carolina, but what I'm watching is no other media source has called it.
So who did
what
the Hill call North Carolina for?
What that tells me is that all of the urban centers have not been counted. For instance, Charlotte probably isn't at like 90-95%. Fayetteville is another area that we need to consider, because that's a huge military installation and where a lot of Black people. And then in North Carolina, and just like Georgia, there's this strip of counties that just run through the middle of the state that are solidly blue. They're considered like the Black Belt. And you'll see that in Georgia, from like the corner of Georgia by South Carolina and Augusta, and how it just runs down along 85 all the way through Columbus. And all the way over to the Alabama border. And so what I would say is, I'm hesitant to believe that North Carolina has broken for Trump, because the governor numbers show a different story. And so I would just watch North Carolina. I wouldn't pay attention to any of the early calls. I am a little concerned when you look at a state like, I'm not counting Kansas, because Kansas came on the radar tonight with the early numbers. And I would also hesitate. They've called Kansas with only like 70% of the vote or something like that, and he's only up by a very thin margin unless they've already counted all the major populous centers like Kansas City, Wichita, Lawrence, Kansas. I would be suspect. So I think right now, what the most of us who support Harris is just remember, right now you're at the crest of that red wave that happens early. We've seen this since the years of Obama when McCain at early numbers, we look at it, and now it's just a little later. And a reason why is each states have different rules about how they count that banked early vote. Some states have that stuff already counted and they throw it out first. Other states, which tend to be red states, they hold on to those numbers and they trickle them out. And so it creates this illusion, and Trump is a master of playing and manipulating. So right now, I wouldn't be too much concerned until I see where Pennsylvania goes and where that blue wall goes.
Yeah.
When
I'll say
that blue
something else
wall
about New
numbers come
Hampshire.
in, she's gonna pass him.
Go ahead.
Estimate the numbers are coming up for the Democrats. They came up like real fast within a matter of minutes.
Now, where's that at? On which one?
Yeah, that's the wall numbers coming in. I'm looking at New Hampshire, y'all.
What numbers were that? What state?
That was the Senate. It was just the Senate. The
Senate numbers.
In a
Okay.
matter of minutes, there was a switch in Democratic count.
That's good to know. New Hampshire, guys, is an early bellwether too. The distinction it has, it is the most. It's not a battleground state, but it's very close to being one. And like Trump narrowly won it. Like it was like he nearly won it last time. Harris is ahead like by 9 points right now with 31% in.
Okay.
So even before the blue wall is coming, it's probably going to go her way, which is an early indicator.
And what state is that?
New Hampshire.
Okay. Yeah. New Hampshire.
Small state, but it's one of those tails.
My sister is in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh.
She said she is going to bed. Her heart can't take it. She'll just. She just said she's not.
Georgia's going to go down to like the last minute, but like so I'm looking. Cal, Rockdale County, 69. Biden got 73% and 20. She's at 73. Newton County, Biden had 55. She's at 57.5. Trump is down a little bit. So it seems like the black counties or ones that are predominantly black, she's doing better. So Biden had Henry County. Biden was at 59.7. She's at 65.1.
Wow, that's big. That's our voters, y'all. That's our voters.
Statewide, she's still trailing, but as we know, all them big numbers out of Fulton County
and DeKalb are not in.
So 80% is in. She's up 72 to 27%. So before 70, Biden was at 72.6. Trump was at 26.2. So those numbers are pretty similar. And they're probably even going to get, the later it gets, that 72% is probably going to go up to 73.
And I think it's important. I think it's very important to keep in mind that even when you see some of these percentages and stuff that's happening, the populations have increased. So maybe Trump is outpacing a year before, but keep in mind that as long as Harris is holding her own with the previous numbers, then those margins remain the same. I know Georgia is extremely
what I was
close,
telling you, Sean, I'm just peeking at MSNBC. Like in Georgia, I was just telling Cal. So it seems like the white counties, Trump will be slightly up, but in the black counties, Kamala Harris is up from Biden. One, I forgot it was Douglas. I just mentioned it to Cal. She was like Cobb County. Biden had 56.3. She's at 57.1. Trump is right at 41.9. He was at 42. So in Cobb County, she's actually doing a little better than Biden did. So it seems like the counties where there's a lot of black folks, she is outperforming what Biden did.
Yeah. And see, we got to get rid of gerrymandering. Like, for instance, where I live in Cobb County, what you just said. Cobb County had been a growing Democratic area. Lucy McBath was our representative. For the first time in all of Georgia history, the Republican state legislature reached into our county, who's led by a black woman named Lisa Cupid, and changed our lines. Never had happened in the entire history of the state. Changed our lines and put us where my house is. Marjorie Taylor Greene is my representative. She's an hour and a half away in Rome.
Are you
That's how
serious?
far. I'm dead serious. They did what's called
Damn.
cracking and packing. So they cracked this black district, put us out there, way out there in the rural. Marjorie Taylor Greene is my, yeah, exactly. So she got a great constituent though, because I'm coming for that chick, man.
Well,
Not-
what? So is it looking like
Mm.
she's gonna win, or does?
So it's drawn. One thing about the gerrymandered districts, remember, it's drawn for them to win.
Yes.
It's already drawn to be 65-35
Yep.
is her district,
Okay.
meaning they pick the Republican neighborhoods. So even though she's facing an Army Brigadier General, Sean Harris, who's a good egg, it's not drawn for him to have the numbers to outcompete a 65% drawn district. That's the problem with gerrymandering. It is anti-democratic. They 10 years, every 10 years, my people, they get to redraw the lines. And Georgia's always on the offenders list, along with North Carolina and Wisconsin.
Yep. They know the
That's
voter
gerrymandering.
rolls. They know they know who, the zip codes,
Yes.
and they know the
Politicians
census
are picking the
and census.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, so they use that data.
Yes.
Okay.
So as it relates to your vote, if I'm a voter in that district, my vote is diluted just for the district. Now, this is the thing that people think about all voting. No, I'm just talking about the representative district race. It's not a statewide or a federal race. But in my district, my power is diluted. It don't matter if she was on my ballot or not, because it's already drawn for her to 65% Republican neighborhoods. So I can vote or not vote for that one position. It really don't matter. That's when your vote don't matter. You get it? I don't like to say that because people will misunderstand it and extrapolate it.
No, I just they
know.
intentionally. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
People talk about rigging or gerrymandering. That's
Exactly.
the one. 51-9-47.
Exactly.
So it's 79% of the votes in. So in Georgia, Pennsylvania, 43% in. She's at 50%. Wisconsin, she's up 50% to 48. Michigan, 51-7 to 46, 16%. North Carolina.
In Georgia.
So now North Carolina was 66. So now we don't know what counties are still out in North Carolina. So that's going to be another big tell,
Right.
is to see where the
Too early to call.
Yep.
We still not talking about any of these metro areas coming in.
because
Mecklenburg
County, yes.
Rowdy, Greensboro, those are coming in later.
Yep.
And same here, Atlanta.
Yep.
DeKalb, Fulton.
Mecklenburg County is Charlotte, and I know they
Yep.
had a huge get out to vote effort in Charlotte. And like Sean said, a lot of those, I forgot what interstate, but you got North Carolina A&T, you got
Yeah.
Wake Forest.
Yep.
What else is over there?
Like
You
it's
got
a Philly cheese steak inside
I
of
know
the
I'm
egg.
forgetting
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem
Thank you.
State.
Yes,
Yep.
those two
Absolutely.
HBCUs. So
Absolutely. Bennett
I
College,
still got enough to make
Benedict.
Philly chicken cheese.
oh yeah,
tomorrow if I got the
thank you,
bread.
Cal. Yes, so many.
Yeah.
Absolutely, good
Mhm.
deal.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Well, listen, Cal. Listen, man. Thank you. You've been
Yes, sir.
awesome. So Sean was spot on. So, you got any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with everybody before we get out of here?
Myself or?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, okay, yes.
Cal. Yes, Cal. You got it.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I'm so glad to join this discussion. I thought it was moderated extremely well. We covered a lot of ground. We really vibed with each other and saw the value of what each of us was saying. It's so important that we do this and know that this is important work. This kind of good sense conversation is something that's not had in many places. Right. So I just thank you for the ability to come and know that my heart is in the right place with this empowerment app, CEO, aptly named, for check them out and come check them out with us. And we're going to make it easy. I'm trying to say like 2 hours a year. People waste 2 hours in a week easily. I know I do. I can easily waste 2 hours.
A day.
All of us do.
half
A day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So I'm
I
saying
wish I
2
could
hours
waste
per
2
year.
hours a day. How rich are y'all? Jeez.
Exactly. Look, time gets wasted. So I'm saying 2 hours a year for your social political power. That means your average of one election per year will take you 30 minutes. The other an hour and a half over that year you use to look at the app for some information so you get your head in the right place and make it easy, make it a chore. We can get ahead of this, y'all. We really can, and bring a power to our people that just has not been seen and experienced.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, Miss Trinace, what up, T? You got any final thoughts? And if you want to give us an update on that Senate race in Texas and Houston. And
So thank you for inviting me on, making me feel smart. Um,
you are smart. That's why you're on with us.
Actually, I've been checking all of the states' results, and let me pull it back up because it's too close to call. He is Albright is given due to run for his money.
Good, good.
Straight up.
Harris County,
Good.
stand up. I hope y'all showed up and showed out.
All Red is giving him a run for his money.
He is giving him a run for his money.
I love
He
it.
is-
Good.
Wait,
Good. I think I believe that the after 10 for the Democrats is going to be good. And when I say
Yeah.
after 10, I'm talking Central 10 time.
Yeah.
I think
Yep,
that
you're right.
I think that the East Coast, because of the litany of a state like, Florida, South Carolina's in there, West Virginia's in there.
Right.
There are some blue states that's in there. I mean, red states that are in there that are heavy red states that Democrats probably won't win in forever. But I think that sometimes the way the media presents it, because again, we got to keep in mind, the media is presenting this as a production.
Yes.
It's not about them
It's the
telling
season
us the winner.
finale, a scandal.
Right. That's what it is. So I'm watching The Hill claim
Conservative leaning.
that he's won. Yeah, I recognize that. But for me, I use The Hill as a measure of conservatism. What I mean is it has to be like my independent source, because The Hill is going to draw a line at the nonsense. They're not going to go over into conspiracy. There's too many credible journalists. Well, the majority, about 98% of the time.
Right. They're more credible. They're more moderate conservatives.
Yeah, they're more. Those are credible journalists there.
Yeah.
But if I was following OEN, and which I don't, OAN or whatever the hell it is,
Sinclair
Broadcasting, then they've called all the states for Trump, and the election has ended at 7:30 this morning. So I think it's important that we be adults and just realize that these states are not like, if it's a blue state, it's not continuous blue. It's probably a whole bunch of red counties in between that blue, and red counties will either put out part of their tally or hold this tally, because again, you got to remember, Trump has built a network over the last 10 years of people that are willing to do his bidding, whether it's for white supremacy or stupidity or cult. Or cult of personality,
or opportunists.
Woo! But that spreads, that web. He's not just running for the United States presidency for the first time. He's done it now 3 times, and so we need to keep that in mind and be patient tonight and just watch. Have a drink, eat good. You might find out tonight by 1 or 2 in the morning Central Time. It may be tomorrow. It may be next week. But democracy isn't going to end just yet.
And I'm curious. I can't wait. I want to see those numbers in Iowa.
Yeah.
I want to see how close those numbers in Iowa were to Ann Seltzer's the Des Moines registered poll that came out last week. So
I'm just gonna say, as a black person,
the numbers for Iowa right now are too early to call.
Okay.
Trump is at 51.1%. Our girl is at 47.4%, and only 40% is only at 40%. So it's
I'm
going
with
to
you
be
in
long,
another hour.
So it's going to be a long night if you up.
So in Iowa, even though it's a very white state, but it's a lot of colleges, and Iowa is either like MAGA red or real liberal. Because remember, Barack Obama won Iowa in the primaries. He beat Hillary Clinton. So they got an interesting kind of dichotomy there. So the larger cities are basically college towns, because Iowa is just like cornfields outside of the population centers are college towns. University of Iowa, Iowa State, and I'm probably leaving some other ones out there. So well, good deal.
The good ones.
All right. Well, listen, Sean, Chef Mitchell.
Yeah. What would you?
He's got the victory meal already going there.
Yeah, at least the party celebration part of it. I'm an optimist because I remember the first time President Barack Obama got elected, and I think that everybody just needs to relax and chill. We knew going in that this was going to be long. The voting process is the voting process, and so I still have strong beliefs that next president of the United States will be Kamala Harris. Let me also add this to any voters that are like, what is it, like 9:30? So maybe like Hawaii or Arizona or Alaska or voting abroad. Just continue to exercise your right to vote. I think that's the most
Oh yeah,
important
it's
thing to
right. That's
take away
true
from
because it's
this.
only
Polls
7 o'clock. I'm assuming. Well, I shouldn't assume, but on
in
the West
Cali.
Coast, California, Oregon, Washington State, it's only 7 o'clock. So
Right.
it's 5 o'clock in Hawaii. So I know that they're still open.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
need to keep that in mind. And let me say
Good
this
point.
Colorado
on the
was
back
just
end. Let
Call.
me add
projected
this on the
winner.
back end.
Yep.
No matter what the result is, what I would advise for people, this is just me, and maybe because I'm from Maywood, Fred Hampton, I remember the pool. I remember growing up involved in that and being a West Side of Chicago person. I would keep my head on a swivel no matter how the election goes. And I've been particularly saying this to Black women, because if Kamala wins, that anger is going to be vetted somewhere.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind. I would just say be aware of your surroundings and your interaction and how people, because haters gonna hate. And we all, especially us that's sitting here, because we from Chicago, we know where they will meet you in the bathroom and you got to fight your way out of the bathroom in high school just because they hating on your new haircut, your new shoes, or whatever. I'm telling you that that's a reality with grown ass racist weak men that would do that if Kamala Harris wins as the
Well, I
presidency.
mean,
So I
like I said, I work for the state, and it already has been showing up with customers coming to our windows when we tell them, no, we can't do something. You're not nothing but an old Democrat. Okay, that didn't help you get what you wanted either. Goodbye.
Right. And I
Sure.
just want everybody to be aware and be safe. I think you need to go back to the Obama strategy, because it's going to be the same effect. And now we'll probably see it magnified, because it's one thing for a Black man to become president. It's going to be a whole nother thing for a Black woman to be president. And we need to keep that in mind.
Yep.
And we even need to check some of our own Black folks, Black men, and Black women. I don't want to leave Black women out of discussion, because in the last 48 hours, I've seen videos of Black women talking negatively about Kamala Harris too. So there's going to be that element there
Well,
too.
you know the Russians are good. They busy working between Russia and China and in Iran. Now they gonna grab them video, or they may do some AI stuff. So we gonna see.
They called two of our local precincts today and shut them down for bomb threats. Came out of Russia, sourced them, called two of our Black precincts, putting out that people were scared to go vote.
On the way out, Maricopa County, Harris is up 50.7 to 48.5. That's with 51%. Maricopa County is Phoenix. That's like the big population center. They were like statewide, I think it was like 49.6. So that's
sure.
I'm about
a
to
lot of those
run on
McCain
y'all,
voters
but
are
I'm gonna
coming
say
over
this:
too.
we need to link up tomorrow so we can wrap all this up, because we're not gonna know before we leave all of this.
Let's send a tentative date. I got a guest schedule. I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can move him to, I believe, Thursday. Yes, so we can kind of wrap this up. So we can meet at the same time, 6:30. Trinace Carter, thank you, down in Harris County, Houston, Texas. Come on, calling all red. Come on, Harris County. Stand up, show out.
Yes.
Illinois has already showed up and showed out. Thanks to Sean Mitchell.
And my egg rolls turned out perfectly. Look at that. Look at how crispy that is. That is just
What's
so.
in there, man?
Philly cheesesteak egg roll.
Oh my gosh.
I don't eat it, but it looks crispy and it looks good.
Sure does.
So
it is.
Cal Burlock down there. Which county are you in, Cal? You said?
I'm in Cobb County.
Cobb County.
Where,
so
Marietta,
Cobb,
Smyrna.
Gwinnett, DeKalb, Fulton County. Stand up. I know y'all gonna rep. it's gonna have your boy in his feelings again, like last year. He was like, "What happened? What? Oh, 11th out."
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
folks. So it's gonna be interesting. So all right, listen, everybody. Thank you. Everybody, thanks for watching. God bless each and every one of you, and especially you. Shout out to my baby sister, mother. You probably still watching. I'm gonna call you briefly because she's probably watched the whole time. And thank everybody for hung around. We still got a lot of people watching live. Like I said, shout out Cal to your daughter. Was it Milan?
Milan, my love.
Milan, I love it. Milan and everybody else. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. We'll see you 6:30 on Wednesday. So we can go ahead and kind of put a bow on this thing here. President-elect, speak it into existence, name it and claim it. President-elect Kamala Harris, y'all. That's right.
Amen.
We're doing this. All right, listen.
That's right.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. God bless y'all.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.